Hello, we're D&D Boyband, a group of friends that all like to play D&D Pretty Boys, because apparently it's not fantasy and it's everybody's hot. This is an original D&D campaign set in the critical world of Exandria, taking place about 11 years after the events of CR1. The group have banished aboleths, demon princes, restored a elder brain, destroyed the wand of Orcus, aided their friend in ascending to become the avatar of Kaifon, and are now attempting to aid their friend in perhaps becoming the Master of Commerce, but also uncover many various plots going on in the city of Imon for various power struggles, and beneath it. I'm Dungeon Master Jamie, and joining me tonight are the Spice Boys. First of all, let me introduce Clued as Barnes.
Hello there.
Not going to say it. Eski as Zug.
Hello.
Sai as Aku. Luke as Askor.
Yep, that's me. Hello, yep.
And Erin as Hayden.
Oh, y'all.
To get you up to speed. Oh, sorry. I don't think we have any announcements other than potential issues in a couple of weeks.
We have any announcement? Let me have a little think.
Do I get a birthday natural 20?
Yes.
I do have it now.
I do have a natural 20.
Oh, y'all.
The rules are generally... Sorry, go on.
No, go.
The rules are anyone who has a birthday, and the preceding 4 or 5 sessions, basically a month, they can substitute any role they use for a natural 20. It's fun, it sometimes breaks the game, and don't take yourself too seriously.
Let's do something important in the next few weeks.
It's been used for everything, I think. In fact, it's rarely been used for an incredibly serious moment. I think.
You can do what I do.
Get used at all.
And hold on to it for a stupid amount of time and then use it just to have sex with a hag.
Nice.
Do what I did and
D&D,
do what I did and completely forgot to use it, and then it expired.
That is sometimes what happens as well, and I didn't get one.
You can make a nat 20 whenever you want.
Yeah, you can just lie to us whenever you want.
I have never lied about any role.
He's just lied about that, though.
To get up.
Wait, we're not done the announcements.
Sorry.
Okay, well, I mean, everyone who's watching has probably already seen this, but it was Clued's birthday Sunday. So we commissioned some artwork of her boy Barnes. You can see it on the stream right now. This artwork is by a Korean artist called oh god, I'm forgetting. 06 Sat, who is amazing and does really cool sparkly artwork like this, and yeah, we wanted to share it with you. And Clued, do you have any birthday words of wisdom for the stream?
Love yourselves and touch grass and drink water. That's my wisdom. No, but really, guys, thank you so much. I love that Zach kind of nailed the kind of warm and yet going to stab you kind of aura. I love it. It's my phone background. It's super cool. Having somebody else draw your character is a hella good feeling. So thank you very much, guys.
Happy birthday!
Happy birthday!
Happy birthday!
I still need to message you about my present.
Oh yeah, I'm still I need to finish your birthday present from like months ago, Jamie.
Oh, I meant my present for Clue, but thank you for reminding me, Erin.
Yeah, there's also that. I'll finish
you said the words "my present," and I was just like, "What does he mean there?"
You don't get a present for Clued's birthday.
You can have one if you want.
Oh god, it's like raising siblings. Okay. Anyway, back to the D&D, Jamie. That's the end of the announcements.
So, I've completely forgot where we're going. To get you up to speed on to get you up to speed on last week, the group had found the soul that they verified to be Hannah Wasserman. They realized if they queried it too much, it might fade into existence in Oblivion. They spent, I think, the majority of last session going around Barnes' magnificent mansion and working out what their plan of attack was. And after much debating, moving backwards and forwards, and realizing a little bit that Hannah Wasserman's last meal had been at the Four Thieves pub with Sarah Valdez, a representative of the Silvercut conglomerate, and before at the Four Thieves pub seemed to have been where she was killed. You believe by Sylfrena, based on the scouting reports you had of that very pub being in her office, well, in Novendra's office anyway, and you had decided to perhaps for the first time in your long, long history do something the legitimate way and notify the Council of tal'dorei of what at least had been done to Hannah Wasserman. You all retreated to your various rooms in Barnes's mansion, which was a little spooky, not gonna lie. And we left our session with Zug. What is wrong with my brain today? Zug having Raishan appear before you in a dream. However, something was wrong. It was back in the clearing where you first saw the rabid Goliath, and it smelt vile, disgusting, putrid rot. And as she turned round, you could barely breathe, but for the smell that permeated through. And you've failing in both Constitution and Wisdom saving throw.
Of course.
You passed out. We'll deal with what happens that later because you're in your own bedroom alone. And I believe there was some roleplay that people wanted to happen beforehand. And first of all, I will come to Hayden, who I believe might be most likely to going to knock on Aku's door.
Wow, I can't believe you call me out like this. I've never done this in my entire life. I've done it. Aku's door.
Yeah, you ain't the only one.
I slam open the door. Asker's already there on the bed. He's like, hey, you come to join in.
This is not why I gave you rooms in the mansion, guys. This
Why
is
has my
respectful
room
place,
got
not a
loads of
brothel.
like hanging leather chairs and shit in it? Did you give me
I
the
just-
right room?
I just thought it was your vibe, man. I'm sorry if I misjudged that.
Yeah. Not the upholstery I had in mind.
Anyway, yeah. Hayden knocks on Aku's door.
Yeah, I mean, the door's open. I don't know if Barnes specified if there were locks on the door, but it's not locked, so...
So he'll slip into the room. Where is Aku? What is Aku doing? He acting like himself.
I mean, as far as you can see, Aku is probably sort of crouched on the ground in a patch of grassy foliage, which has very kindly been supplied by Barnes in his room. Probably looks like he's just touching grass, a la wisdom. Oh, sorry, Clue's wisdom, her birthday wisdom.
One and the same. I'm a 20 wisdom therapist.
Staying
in real
hydrated
life
too.
as well.
I mean, maybe. I don't know if he's hydrated. I guess we'll see. But yeah, he's just sort of sitting on the ground. I guess if Hayden walks in, he'll turn around, beckon him in.
Hey. Kind of closes the door. So are you hey, like after the hag thing? That was a hag, right? That was the hag, the one from the one that we made deals with the other day, right?
Yes, from the brothel.
So were you like still there when she was taking control, or do you remember any of it, or
Who stands up and sort of walks over and Well, I could see what was going on. I was able to communicate with her. Obviously, I had no control over what she was doing, nor did I have any idea what she was going to do, but,
Right. And did you have any sort of idea when she, like, were you able to, like, fight her off or whatever when she, like, just barged in there?
well, if there is a way, then I don't know it, to just fight off someone from your mind. I mean, it's... I don't know. I don't know the extent of her power. It's difficult to say. Of course I tried, but... And Lanharath as well.
Right, do you have any idea if she's still in there, though?
She doesn't have control. I don't think that the hag is any kind of a part of my mind anymore, but I do feel strange. At this point, he's like rubbing his forehead. He's sort of like, he's looks slightly uncomfortable. I've had this headache that I can't seem to shake. It's been a strain to stay awake sometimes since what happened at the river. I can't say for certain if she will have the ability to take control of my body again, but I hope not.
Staying awake, you mean not been napping? Do you mean you've just been feeling drowsy, or?
No, I'm aware I haven't been sleeping, but it just feels difficult to fight off sleep sometimes, more than before. I'm sure it's just the exhaustion.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, I've not been really acting myself the river as well, so. I mean, we went through a lot, so it'll probably just take some time to back to normal. Guess that's to be expected.
Hayden, I do appreciate that you came to find me when the hag took over my body. You'd think I'd be used to it by now, but...
Yeah.
He kind of raises his hand a little bit to interrupt Hayden. And talking to Silas, I realized that I'd never really thanked you properly for saving my life.
Oh, it's fine. You would have done it for me, right? So, we do.
Well, yes, and I'll kill all of them if they threaten you again.
Cool. A lot of them.
Echo nods.
Can be busy, but anyway, let's hope they don't figure out who we are, and they won't have any reason to threaten us again.
We'll see.
Speaking of which, a bit nervous about meeting with the Council of tal'dorei tomorrow. There's some pretty powerful wizards on the council, and I honestly wouldn't be surprised if there's some people with clasp connections on there too. Especially considering, you know, Hannah Wasserman's connection. Galvardane's and their connection to the clasp, but all interconnected, I think. We should-
Well, I mean, this is what I said earlier. I mean, I am apprehensive about meeting the council, given that, yeah, the likelihood is there will be someone, an informant, who will tell at least the clasp, if not other people that we don't want knowing, what will happen. But everyone has decided that that's what we're doing, so I suppose we don't have much choice.
We could leave. We could go back to Wildmount. Clasp don't have a headquarters there, so they'd really have to go out of their way to find us. It'd just pack our bags and leave right now.
Aku kind of like pauses as if he hadn't really considered leaving Emon, like, as a result of what happened, and he thinks, Hayden, although that would be an answer to some of our problems, and I wouldn't be against it, I think leaving Zarg and Ascor and Barnes in this situation would be more dangerous than if we were to stay, don't you think?
Dangerous for them. I don't want to leave them in a lurch, but I don't feel super safe in Amon, but hey, gotta look after the squad, right? So,
Well, perhaps we can talk about it after we speak to the council.
yeah. Or as soon as wrapped up the stuff we gotta do here.
I mean, from the sounds of it, Ascor seems to have a lot of unfinished business before he'd leave him on.
Well, I mean, if everything goes to plan, he's gonna join the council, so he's gonna kind of have to stay here for forever. That sucks.
He's looking pretty skeptical right now about whether that will actually happen, but he kind of gives a non-committal nod, like,
Never know. But yeah. Those got a lot of loose ends to tie.
Aku's kind of like rubbing the back of his head again, like it's an annoying headache that he just talked about having, and he's gonna sort of like look at the bed, and now I'm really exhausted.
Yeah, we should probably go to sleep. And a really long day. It's a really long life, to be perfectly honest.
Rude.
Aku doesn't even bother taking off his coat, he just like falls into bed and passes out. Or at least that's what it looks like.
And back to you, Jamie.
Okay. Barnes, I believe you had some messages to send.
Well, I actually just wanted to just kind of quickly, while people are sleeping, I've still got some spell slots, and I have my typical amount of unfinished business in Rosanna. So I'm just gonna pop my 2 5th level spell slots to teleport, visit Roman, visit Essek, and maybe just spend an hour just sat with Vespin Chloris, just see how he's doing. Though I know I can't make any progress with him, and he's probably still in a terrible state. I think he probably just wants to see him.
Okay. We won't roleplay. Yeah, so we'll go straight for you. You've arrived back. You've been taken to the cell. If you want to talk to Roman and Essek, can do that afterwards.
Yeah.
And so you've kind of been brought in, and there's less panicking. There's certainly Vespin is more calm. He doesn't like. He still moves away from you ever so slightly as you come in, and there's the sound of kind of the bars going, but there's no. He's not as jittery as he was. In the same way that a nervous pet will slowly calm down over time, he's become. This is perhaps familiar, if not full returning to salience.
Yeah, and I guess he'll kind of sit down and maybe plan to spend about an hour in there just talking, probably at him rather than with him. Just sort of say something like, hey, Vespin, you've still got your stupid hat from Amon. Jeez. I guess I can't do any work yet, but I don't know. I suppose I just wanted to come in and see you. I thought I'd tell you about the world. It's different. It's really different, actually, but sort of better in some ways, maybe. I'm currently a detective, actually, and also a politician, sort of. And I'm also a mafia hunter, or at least I will be next week. And I'm still a therapist. I still do that too. It's pretty awesome, pretty fulfilling, very cool. Kind of trails off, and maybe a little awkwardly. He pauses and waves his hands and creates just a little minor illusion. And it recreates though this is not the D&D word for it, a photo of the two of them that his subconscious generated for him inside of his room in the magnificent mansion. Just sort of sighs and says, yeah, I don't know, the more time I spend alive, I mean, I don't remember anything still. It's still all just darkness and black, but I keep encountering stupid things like this. I just need you to wake up and tell me the context for it, because... And he maybe looks to the side. I don't know if there's a two-way mirror with, like, Essek and Roman, and he's just gonna look at Vespin and just be like, I just really think I need your help, so if you are in there, please, just...
Could you make... How have we been doing this? Is this persuasion, or...
Whatever you think feels appropriate at
We'll
the time.
go persuasion.
Oh! Pog! 33.
And what was the roll?
18.
18. Vespin kind of sits there and listens, and his eyes are kind of, backwards and forwards still, and he's breathing, but throughout all of this you can see him kind of, he takes his hat off and seems to be holding it quite close to his chest, the Amon one. And he's been given clothes, they're kind of just a cloak and a robe, comfortable things, but not really. And there's noticeable calms down. And as he kind of says that, you stare into the mirror and you sigh. There's a tiny whisper behind you. Did it work? Are you free?
Work? Well, yes, I think I am, probably. Maybe. I'm not sure, to be honest. If you mean free from... He looks at the mirror again. You know who? Maybe. I don't know. Wait, you muted? He's making ninjutsu symbols at us. He's channeling his chakra.
I'm trying to switch to my other mic, but I'll do it in a second. You turn back, and he's, again, that eyes look, whatever lucidity there was a moment, has gone, and he seems to, with like that coming back, and your answer seemed to almost withdrawn in of himself again, and progress, I suppose. But you've dealt with, you're a therapist, and you just remember that part, and you know that often people can, it's like a little step out, confronted by the wall of emotion they're about to feel, and it's the first step, but it's often 3 steps back, and it's you don't know how. You can only ever think of it as progress.
Yeah. Well, he'll probably just change track and just return to talking about inane shit for about 40 minutes, more to make himself feel better about things than anything, and eventually head off. And I think as he's leaving, he'll probably turn to Roman and Esecthalis, and just say, has there been any progress on the Divine Gate problem?
Roman turns. We've had people watching. There's been no noticeable change in the tree. Kind of. It's autumn as it is, so we'd expect it to be wilting a little and leaves, but obviously with everything, we're keeping a close eye. No sign of my erstwhile brother. Any sign on your end?
Yeah, it's been taken note of. Certain forces are, how do I say this? Aware of the problem that we created. I don't really know how long we have.
What?
I actually,
The forces.
I can't go into it. If there's no sign of anything, that's good. I'll think about things on my
No
end.
sign.
I'll try harder with Vespin, I think. Yeah, don't worry about it. Sorry, I shouldn't have said anything. Silly me. Hayden says hi, by the way, Roman.
How is Hayden?
He's, And Barnes just pauses, thinks about the fact Hayden recently died, is missing an eye, is currently suffering from extreme trauma and can't go near bodies of water. Barnes nods and says, it's really growing up, you know. Really, experience is just doing the world for him. He's really developing into a fine young man.
Make a deception check.
Can't believe you'd lie to my grandpa like this.
Deception, 29.
Disgrace.
Raises an eyebrow. Surprising.
Yep, no
I look
mortal
forward to
peril.
meeting the new Hayden.
You're going to love him. Have a great day, Roman Essex. He turns to Esecthalis, and I think maybe this he just
Essex just been making notes, occasionally not looking at Vespin, and has been kind of ignoring this regrouping. He kind of like looks up at you, eyebrow raised.
If you get any contact from anyone in Iman, please ignore them. I'm so sorry, Essex. And that's all we're going to say on the matter.
Excuse me?
Have a great day, goodbye. He's just gonna turn on his heel and march out.
Very well. Barnes, you return back, and mansion's still there, surprisingly. Morning comes. Zug, you wake up. You can
That's a
taste
shame.
bile and sick in your mouth, and you look down and you've just chundered everywhere.
Oh no.
Gnarly, dude.
And you don't remember because you didn't get that drunk last night.
Didn't get drunk at all. He didn't drink
You
anything.
get it drunk at all, yeah. Like you kind of recall, like you remember the dream vaguely as a memory, but
Okay.
you look down and there's something smells awful. Something is off. You look down, you see the ring on your hand. There's a crack in the center, and like as you kind of twirl it around, like weird yellow liquid pours out, and it smells absolutely vile. And you look inside, and you can see the gem has got growths and mold inside, and
The ring of mine showing.
yeah,
Has it just like got nasty?
the brain on the thing is kind of cracked, and the center of it is rotting.
From a meta perspective, is it still operating or
It does not operate anymore.
no?
From a meta perspective, it does not. Zug doesn't know.
Ah. Okay. I mean, it's like if it's changed significantly, he'd be like, "Ooh, I can't try and remove it." There's
Yes,
something
you can
clearly
still
wrong
remove
with
it.
He kind of takes it off and puts it on the side table and just looks at it. And he kind of thinks to himself, like, "Probably ask someone about that in a second. That's not normal. Doesn't normally look like that." And then kind of reflects on the dream, I guess. And just thinks to himself again. Should probably talk to someone about that as well. Whenever Barnes is around. However, more important things to do. And he turns around and can I do an investigation check for any sort of food source?
Yeah, absolutely. If you go downstairs, there are a multitude of imps, and they begin scouting in front of you like, they wake, they wake, they wake. And you see them kind of run in with various foods, meat, deli meat to start off the day, croissants, everything, anything your heart could desire in the morning. Milk, orange juice, bacon. Kind of sizzles begin to
Incredible.
waft up, and slowly but surely it will wake or rouse everybody else. I know, Sai, you wanted to do a little bit of roleplay in the morning, or have
Actually,
we
can I
covered that?
retcon
Oh,
one
sorry.
thing?
Yes.
Yeah, he takes the ring off and he wraps it in like a handkerchief.
Yes.
And he puts it in his pocket.
Cool. Yep. As you go downstairs, we'll say you're no longer physically in contact with it, and it's not just out there in the open. Yeah. Sai, was there anything you wanted to roleplay in the morning?
Yeah, so I think Aku is probably going to be up pretty early. Does he have any indication where Barnes would be?
I think.
Like, did we go to Barnes's room? Or
You
like...
did, but also the imps would probably know that actually, rather than be in his room, he has spent his time in the orphanage, which I've not been to yet, but they would probably direct you there.
The orphanage.
Ah. So would you ask the imps where Barnes is?
Yep.
Oh, that's
The
a
orphanage,
bit
his
of
favourite
protest like that.
Was it the one I kicked?
Yes.
I booted him.
That one is especially exuberant in his desire to serve. He runs forward immediately.
Wants to be kicked again.
So all the servants in Magnificent Mansion are liveried, so this one has like a big bow tie on and a little like waiting jacket and some little tails.
Yeah, and I think kind of like Brady Jacket kind of flicks off. He kind of tucks it back in and stands upright.
Oh, cute.
As I said, in the orphanage, his favorite place.
Could you direct me to where that is?
Of course, he bows and like points in a direction and then kind of scurries off.
And
Keeps somehow within kicking distance the entire way. As you...
when we like arrive at the where he's taken Aku, like Aku's gonna kind of like look at him and just politely pat his bow tie and walk to go find
You
Barnes.
have never seen a face, the combination of confused and disappointed. Under him, he almost seems to shrivel in front of you as he receives grateful thanks rather than admonition.
kindness.
Yes, but Barnes, could you please describe the orphanage?
The orphanage is a low-light, warm bar. The walls are racked with wine and spirit. There's ambient music at all times, and it's
Spirits?
generally pretty empty. Spirits isn't like liquor when this
Yeah.
isn't like a soul chamber.
Yeah, I know.
But, like,
That's equally as
whiskeys, we've got like
terrifying.
we've got amarettos, we got everything in here. There's like hanging curtains. It's all very intimate and pleasant. And there's kind of this slight waft of like cigar smoke from nowhere in particular. There is nowhere do you see a cigar, but you just get the sense it's that kind of thing. And this is kind of music, this like slightly offbeat, off rhythm kind of swing playing, little jazzy. And Barnes is just hunched over the bar with some papers and some books, and he just seems to be reading with a whiskey in his hand.
So Aku's gonna... wait, sorry, did you say that there was a door? Has Aku seen this, or is...
Yeah. I mean, I assume that it like kind of opens.
It would have like swung the door open for you.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
There's
On.
sorry, there's a portrait of Kolkor in here.
Of who?
Oh my god, Kolkor!
Kolkor, the devil that was summoned earlier.
Oh,
The
yeah.
one that had the fake
Aku's
fight.
not met him.
True,
Wasn't there
yes.
for that particular pantomime.
Oh yeah.
A portrait of a rather impressive looking devil.
So, Aku's gonna step through and pretty loudly, maybe give a slight knock on the door as he walks through.
Oh, Aku. Good morning. How are you?
Barnes, about last night.
Oh,
The
straight in.
letter.
The letter. Yeah.
You wouldn't have any reason to think the Divine Gate has been weakened by something you've done that
Personally.
you haven't really been honest with us about?
Personally, I cannot think for a second that I personally have the ability to weaken the Divine Gate. That is certainly not in my remit. Why?
Like, Barnes is kind of laughing. Aku's gonna walk pretty quickly up to where Barnes is sitting. And his expression is suddenly a lot more annoyed. Well, because if we find out that the Divine Gate is even weaker than when we left it, don't think that we won't leave you to rot in this. And he looks up at the room. Charming palace you've built for yourself.
There's that way again. Ah. Oh, I see. I see. Well, Lanharath. It's Lanharath I'm speaking to at the moment, right?
He kind of doesn't really say anything to that, as if almost Barnes hadn't said anything at all. And you hear, don't change the subject, Barnes.
All right. Well, first of all, if you want a drink, help yourself, because I know you don't get the opportunity to drink too often. What with not being the dominant spirit in the body. Second of all, yes, Lanharath, the Divine Gate is weakened. Is it my personal fault? No. Is it our collective fault? Yes. Yes, it is. When we destroyed the Wand of Orcus, and we didn't replace Vespin Chloris's body with one as appropriate, or even just with a body at all. I don't even know if it needs to be one of the caliber of power of Vespin Chloris, but when we didn't do it, when we didn't offer sacrifice back in return, we weakened that gate. For all the terrifying ramifications that comes with it. And yes, Asmodeus does now seem to think that I orchestrated that one, which I can assure you I did not. And though I'm partially glad that he has a high opinion of me, it means I'm less likely to get skinned on the spot. Well, I'm not happy about it. Of course I'm not happy about it. It's a terrifying notion. The gate is weakened, isn't it?
Aku's expression again instantly changes. Suddenly, he looks a lot calmer, and he kind of brightens up a bit and says, well, we're glad to hear it. I mean, it would really be a shame not to have you as an ally, and as long as you're on the same page as us, we would do what we can to keep you safe, I suppose.
On the same page, writing the same book, living out my best life in the same chapter. We are ride or die together.
And I'm glad that you agree that the repercussions of the Divine Gate being weakened are, in fact, very worrying. Well, like I said, I'm glad that you haven't done something to, well, betray the party.
Oh, you don't need to worry about that. I'm just doing my best to help. And that includes you, by the way. I don't want to be presumptuous, Lanharath, but I think What's going on with you and Aku? Are you in
He-
need of assistance?
He looks slightly annoyed again when you address him as Lanharath.
Hmm.
Like, again, he dismisses that you've kind of really said anything at all.
Hmm.
And he turns around, looks at the door, looks back at Barnes and says, "We're fine. I think breakfast soon."
Yes, breakfast. Zog is going to be so excited when he sees all the demon pancakes. And
And Jamie, are there any like outside areas within the house? Like, are there any like gardens or anything like that?
I'm not the DM here.
Okay, cool.
Would there
yours
be a
is probably the
courtyard or a garden?
only outdoor space. There's a very tall spire that seems to have quite large open windows. It almost feels quite lofty, full of perches. Maybe that's the closest thing. But otherwise, it's your room that's the outdoor green space.
Okay. Well, I guess if not, then Aku is gonna go back to his room before he goes down to breakfast, and he probably left his other spear and his other stuff in there, so he's gonna go grab it before going to breakfast.
I think probably on the way to breakfast, Barnes is probably just going to try and catch Hayden maybe at the entrance. Just he's sort of like milling about, maybe adjusting some curtains, chatting to a devil, waiting for him to walk past. And if he sees him come down to breakfast at some point, he'll say, "Hayden."
Yeah. Hey.
Could I ask you a
Morning.
quick question? You spent a lot of time with Aku. Probably know him best out of all of us, right?
I mean, like a lot of time is like subjective.
Okay, stop blushing and stammering. You just.
What
it's
are you
fine.
getting
It's
at?
fine. It's fine that you
I
know
don't
him
want the
best.
guys
That's
over
good.
here. Can we talk about this privately?
He's just gonna like turn his back to the group and say, "It's actually quite a serious question I need to ask you. Is he acting differently? Are you seeing him act like a different person altogether at times?"
I mean, yeah.
When is it happening, and what's happening when it does?
Like, I mean, does that sometimes? Like the other day with Ascor. Kind of,
Right.
snaps and flips out a bit.
And what he said to your friend Rashaval as well.
Yeah, that was
Pretty out of line, actually. That was pretty rough.
well. Yeah, I mean, Rash is a really nice guy, so he really did deserve for Aku to say it like that, but also the circumstances. I don't really want to get involved.
Sure. But what I'm getting at, Hayden, this has started happening after, Aku died. I mean, before we were seeing Lanharath, they were like separate entities, or at least beginning to coexist. Aku was telling us about how they're not separate at all, actually. They're like the same person, and now they've melded into one, but actually it seems less cooperative than it did before when we were visibly seeing Lanharath as a separate guy. I mean, they're not different people, they're the same, but it just seems a little hostile at the moment. And I'm just a bit worried that, anyway, before I project, are you worried? That's what I want to know.
I mean, Lanharath has taken over Aku a couple times before, and they've always had a bit of a hostile relationship. Never really known them to. So I don't think it's been worse recently, but out of character. I just want to quickly double check that I'm not metagaming. But did we discuss before that Hayden probably would have picked up on the Lanharath stuff because of the amount of time he spends with Haku? Or I think we spoke about this in a couple sessions ago. It's a question to Jamie, but also to Sai.
I'll let Sai say how obvious it's been, and then maybe an insight roll.
I mean, I feel like given how quick this has been happening, you might not necessarily have a good idea. But yeah, maybe roll for it. Although the episode where Aku was in bed and not being very nice to Hayden probably was some indication of there's something funny going on there.
It's just a lover's quarrel, it's fine. Okay, I'll do an insight check, I guess. Can I do with advantage because Hayden has a big fat crush on Aku and pays attention to everything he does?
Anything disadvantage because you're blinded to his faults.
Wow, okay. I mean, that's fair.
No,
That's fair.
just a straight roll though.
Oh, okay. 12.
12. Like, you know Lanharath attention you can't control, but it's been fairly obvious before, so I'll say something up, but you haven't immediately gone, it's Lanharath. You could think it was the hag, you could think it's
I just
nearly dying, it's a whole host of things, right? Like,
yeah, he turns back to Barnes. He's like, I just kind of figured it, Aku's been through a lot the past couple days, and using a Fates card to bring him back, I was kind of worried it maybe scrambled with his head a little bit, but...
Alright, I think it might be worth bringing it up to Aku. Well, just Aku. With everyone around, but if our other half of him is still in attendance over breakfast, I'll try snap him out of it maybe.
What do you mean, his Lanharath?
I don't know how to describe it.
Is he looking kind of like a plant?
No, Lanharath
kind of like
I think
wood
has,
on him.
but I almost feel a bit bad referring to them as separate names because they're not different people, are they? They're two halves of the same spirit, right?
I don't know if it works quite like that.
We're just two halves of the same personality.
I wouldn't really say that Aku's half a person and Lanharath isn't really half a spirit either. They're both full entities. They just share a body.
Right, exactly, but I don't know if separation is something that they feel. I can't put words in his mouth. I'll ask him. I think. Thanks, Hayden.
Hey, do you think I should be worried?
No, I didn't mean to worry you.
Okay.
I just, had a chat with him this morning is all, and...
Don't...
He was mean about my castle, so...
Yeah. Oh, this one?
He said it was charming, and he definitely didn't mean that. To be honest. And he kind of, like, his eyes slide to the imps running around with their, like, stupid little tuxedos and, like, all the red velvet and, like, stupid, like, candlesticks with claws and horns everywhere. And he's like, I mean, to be honest, fair enough, it's a bit much. This is not my... Do you know, if you needed any indication, Hayden, that I am a different man to the guy that worked for Asmodeus, it's the fact that I think this is tacky as all hells.
I didn't notice.
Next time I see Asmodeus,
tacky.
I'm going to tell him his design sense is off.
Well,
he's just gonna...
you shouldn't take it personally, because, I mean, Aku grew up in, like, I don't know, like a forest or something. He's some sort of wild
he's
man,
right.
So, yeah, like
he's totally right.
He doesn't know what furniture is.
He's gonna sweep down the hallway with the cape riffling.
Anyway, don't say anything to him about the stuff. Gone.
Sorry.
But he's just gonna look over his shoulder and just wink conspiratorially.
No. Chase after you into the breakfast hall.
Ascor. I'm aware we dealt a lot with other people. Would Ascor have been up to anything during the night, evening, morning? Where's Ascor at?
During the evening, no. He'd just be getting his shut eye with a weary mind of all the events and all the possibilities that are taking place around him in the world.
All the
right
spell
now,
slots he's lost.
Exactly. Accelerate. in the morning. So this conversation between Barnes and Aku, how long does it kind of go on for?
Barnes and Aku, probably it was quite short, really.
Yeah.
Minute.
And was it's kind of like, whereabouts was it? Sorry, that's one thing I missed.
We'll
The
go orphanage.
orphanage, the bar in the house,
Right, cool.
Jan's
Okay.
bar.
So probably when everybody, convenes again, I think Ascor would probably just, when he sees Aku, beam a little telepathia, and just send a message just to to Aku saying, Aku, you've got a moment?
Zai's there.
Sai, are you there?
Zai. Or
Sai.
perhaps not.
You're muted.
Sigh.
Sai, duck.
Zai may have quickly ran.
Oh my god, I literally took like 2 minutes to go through. I was like,
Come back.
my bad.
Very popular today.
Hang out with us.
So yeah, you receive a psychic message from Ascor, and when you're in each other's presence, probably getting ready for the day, maybe, yeah. And it's just simply as Aku, do you have a minute?
Of course, Ascor. What's wrong?
I just wanted to, and this is through telepathy still. I just wanted to discuss a couple of things with you about our party.
Go ahead.
Well, should we do it somewhere in private?
Aku, because I guess they're both in the main room or wherever we've gathered for food, right? So he'll look over at Ascor, nod, and say, wherever you want to go.
Well, it's your room, my room. You go. Let's go to your room.
Yours is fine.
Okay, cool. Let's go. We make our way. We go in the room, and
Making your way.
that's it. We make our way down the hall, and Ascor sits down, presumably just on the chair, not on the bed. It's not suggestive. Get your mind out the guys. And quite simply, is he keeps things telepathic at this point, and just goes, we should discuss. And he sort of looks around the room, and it's Clued. Can you remind me of what Ascor's room would look like? Would it look any way specific, or would it look like the sort of larger mansion itself?
Yeah. So this one is almost a kind of quite faithful recreation of the sort of decor he saw on the Galvadane estate. But anything that pertained to your father is replaced with you. Maybe there's some like comforting things from the road, a few little knickknacks that he's noticed that the Ascor is into. He's got a big walk-in wardrobe, like silk bed, like kind of night dresses and robes and slippers and shit, creature comforts, and a big bathhouse.
Ascor sort of looks around the room, and he goes, well, it's this. Not in here, but you've seen around outside, in the hallways, and you've seen the little creatures. Barnes seems so at peace with. I'm not sure what this relationship is with this creature, being. It doesn't give me good vibes.
Well, I think you're correct to be worried about who Barnes actually is. Although it does give me some comfort that he is seemingly unaware of his past, of all of this. And he's like openly staring at like all of the images of like Ascor. Like you'd imagine that previously if Aku stepped foot in this room, he'd grimace and look pretty annoyed at all of this crap. But he looks amused.
Askell sort of looks at his face and looks around the room and goes, "You know, it's not what I would have chosen. It's flattering, of course, but certainly not what I would have chosen. You know, it's very new money, if you know what I mean." Well, maybe you don't, but listen. He just seems so comfortable with it. It's an incredibly uncomfortable thing. I suppose I've been so caught up in everything with my family, with myself. Gladly accepted his participation, but Aku, I'm coming to you because you're a man of God. You're he looks you up and down, a bulwark against the darkness, or something, and a drug dealer, of course. But don't you have any reservations about this sort of thing?
Oh, we do. I think for the moment, though, Askell, the best possible course of action is to keep an eye on Barnes. I mean, humans are, or undead humans are complicated. Perhaps Barnes's nonchalance towards all of this, and he gestures around the room, is maybe a way that he's dealing with the situation, with not really knowing what all of this is, rather than actually being comfortable with it. Do you think?
Sure, it's possible. It's freaking me out. It's when Hayden had that thing. That was so unnatural, okay? It's not the same. But it's making me uneasy.
Well, I agree with you, Askell. But there are 4 of us. I imagine that we'll be mostly safe for the time being.
Okay. And what about me? We've not spoken in a while, and we've had our frictions, Aku. That's not lost on me.
What about them?
Well, you can hear me okay?
Yeah, yeah.
That was a bit of a... We've had our frictions in the past, and obviously, I'm trying to do this. I'm not sure. I think I'm trying to set things right. But it also feels like one of those things that could be the wrong thing to do, or could go wrong. I would have asked Rasha, but, well, it's not his speciality, and he seems to have changed himself. We've all changed. But what do you think? Is it a stupid idea what I'm doing?
As in, Askell is talking about, like, making up with Aku, or what's he saying that's
About
stupid?
kind of his aspirations, to sort of get that seat on their council.
Well, you're certainly capable. Although you are a very different person now than when you left him on. Perhaps your goals then are not your goals now. I think it's dangerous. But quite frankly, I really don't care much for the politics in Amon, as you probably gathered. But by all means, Askell, if that's your goal, I believe that you can do it.
Asgore probably looks a little dissatisfied, not annoyed, but just kind of like, just like, Aku, you used to be so about it, Anything would happen, you'd have this opinion on this, have this opinion on that. Now, you're some kind of old wise man.
I'd hardly say old. But, Asgore, I think that really you know what you want, surely. And, we'll do what we can to support you, although we have a lot of other things to be worrying about before we get to the next election, don't you think?
All I'm doing is worrying. That's why I thought I should ask some buddies for their perspective. All I'm doing is worrying. Well, look, I appreciate your time, Aku. But if you feel like, you ever want to say anything, that doesn't require a swing of a fist, of course, then, I'm here.
I appreciate that, Asgore. Thank you. And he goes to just like pat Asgore on the like on the side of the arm. Does anything happen if Aku touches Asgore? I can't remember. if this is a thing.
You'll experience something, of course.
Okay.
Do you have, let's say, any metal on you? I've lost the original table, but do you have any metal on your person?
Yep. Earrings, spear, necklace.
Yeah, you probably feel a slight clink in your earrings and necklace as they sort of as they enter the magnetic field, kind of. That's all.
Aku looks slightly disturbed by that feeling, but he just motions over to Asgore and says, I'm sure breakfast will help some of that worrying.
Yeah, but let's not overeat. We got to stay on our toes. We've got lots ahead, right?
Aku nods. And on that note, I need 2 quick minutes, so be right back.
No problem.
Excellent.
As you return, I believe not entirely working on a time basis, but I will say, Hayden, Barnes seems to have been slightly diverted. A servant seems to have pulled him up to ask something, and you kind of watch as Barnes is like staring down at this, sniveling and going, "Master, do you want the good wine for later?"
Breakfast? What are you talking about?
No, later. Sorry, later.
This man is going to disappear in like 12 hours. There's not going to be a later. You're going to evaporate in between the spaces of the planes. You won't exist later.
The kind of shivers, but like, you're not summoning us back.
No, I'm kidding. I'll summon you back later. Good wine for later, please.
And as a result, Hayden, you get to dinner before. You get to the breakfast room before Barnes, and you see Zug kind of emerge from the other side. Zug's face, obviously hungry, but there's something else. Anyway, Hayden.
Is there food already on the table?
Yep, the imps are kind of serving up by one. You see pancakes, sausages, bacon, various cereals, breads, jams.
Hayden's gonna
Pop-tarts. You've never seen these before, Hayden. Little frosted biscuits, kind of warm and piping, slightly grilled.
Oh my god. Hayden's gonna lock eyes with Zug across the room. And then look at the Pop-Tarts on the table. And then look back at Zug. And then he's gonna die for the popcorns.
Zug already has like 4 on his plate.
No!
Like, there are multiple Pop-Tarts. Oh wait, is Hayden saying that?
Yeah.
What? Did I plenty there? What are you talking about?
But you took all the strawberry ones. That is strawberry, right?
No, I didn't.
But
Did I?
there's only chocolate left in the.
Oh, they're different flavors. He says, "What kind of?"
You didn't even stop to taste it. You just swallowed it.
I mean, I thought they did taste different, but I didn't realize.
You didn't.
Well, I mean, I've just been sampling them all. I thought they were assorted. I didn't really.
Oh
I
my
get it
God.
now.
Wait, what else is good on the table?
Everything.
All of it.
All of it.
Oh man. Okay. And we gotta eat quick before the others come so we can get some of the good stuff.
Oh, it's fine. I think he could just make more.
What?
He said there was infinite money.
How-
I mean, he didn't say money. He said food.
How can there be infinite food? That's just impossible.
Oh, it's because you remember the fridge that I had.
Yeah.
The fridge. Yes, he's got loads of those.
He has a fridge.
Oh, not just one, many.
Where is this?
Zug's room had a bunch of those in there, right? Or
There
am I
was
imagining it
one monolithic fridge in your room. Yes.
wrong? Sorry, because there was a really big one, not multiple. Yeah, I'll show you. He takes Aiden up to the short trot to his quarters.
When Hayden sees the fridge, he's just like,
Look,
Fine.
you could just ask for anything, and it appears.
wait, anything.
Anything.
Wait. Okay, hold on. Let me think.
As long as it's food.
Okay. Okay, I got an idea. And
Okay.
he puts his hand on the fridge and opens it up. And inside is a plate of mashed potatoes. Oh my god, this is amazing, Zug. He pulls out the mashed potatoes and closes the thing.
I mean, yeah, any.
Isn't this amazing? He like shows.
You're
the
only gonna
potatoes.
get mashed potatoes. That's,
Yeah,
you
it's
can
like,
get those anywhere. Those.
like the best food ever.
I mean, that's a very controversial thing to say. I don't think I would say mashed potatoes are the best food. I mean, they're very good. Don't get me wrong. You know, and really hits the spot sometimes. But you need to have them with other things. You know, they're more of a companion dish than.
Oh, you're totally right. Okay, hold on one second. He opens up the fridge, puts the mashed potatoes back inside, closes the fridge.
No. You don't need to put it
Thanks.
back in. You can have it with. You don't have to put it back.
Oh. He opens up the fridge, pulls out the plate of mashed potatoes, but now it has a little, like, drizzle of butter on top of it with some salt and pepper. You meant this, right?
Knock yourself out, buddy. I mean, I was thinking more just like blood sausages or a good steak or, you know,
Oh.
pork loin, any of that stuff. You know, meat and potatoes. Standard base to any meal. Any good meal.
I guess, yeah. Oh, I was just thinking
Not
like it.
wall mushrooms.
Well, yeah, wall mushrooms would not be.
I mean, they weren't terrible. It's just there are better things.
Well, wait, what would you get out of the fridge?
I'll show you. He opens the fridge, he pulls out, and there's just like an entire plate of like cold fruit, like various exotic fruits, some of which like you probably don't even recognize. Sorry, I've already eaten a lot, so this is dessert.
What is that? And he like points to like one of the weird looking fruit.
That is a pineapple. At least that's what I heard the merchant call it.
Pineapple.
Pineapple.
Tastes like apple.
Not quite. I don't know why it's called anything to do with an apple, because it doesn't taste anything like an apple. In fact, you can't eat the outside. You have to, like, you know, peel it open, and he pulls out his little kind of like dagger and begins kind of peeling off the skin and like cuts a chunk of pineapple out, hands it to Hayden.
Okay.
I heard it's from far, far away.
Well, like.
We once confiscated a bunch in the guards.
Did you?
Contraband. Yeah, they're quite strict on food import.
Why would they have so many?
To sell them, I assume.
Or really good. What else?
And then there's this one, and he pulls out a strawberry, and then he also like pulls out. These are all from all over.
What do they do then?
I don't know. I just thought of them. I just pictured them in my mind, and then they're in the fridge. It's amazing. I've been using it all afternoon. Well, and evening, and morning.
Hayden surreptitiously glances to Zug's belly. Is it... Oh, I see. Cool. I'm gonna. He's like still holding his plate of mashed potatoes. Should we go back to the breakfast room?
Yeah, sure. Just give me 1 second. He kind of turns and he pulls out another 3 things out of the fridge.
Do you need help carrying one
like,
of those?
There's like some bread and some cheese, and then he's also picked up the bread, and he's kind of carrying it all like in his arms. Like, you don't know, I'm alright, don't worry.
Oh, okay, cool. I'll get the door, and he returns to the breakfast room with his mashed potatoes and puts the doors for Zug along the way.
Oh, thanks.
Okay. As of that, everybody else can make their glorious return to the breakfast room. You will arrive with your various secret discussions on. You, I believe, are preparing today to go and see the tal'dorei Council. Is there anything you guys want to catch up with each other, talk about before you embark on your?
Yes, Zug very casually, kind of while eating a big peach, he's kind of like, does anyone know anything about jewelry? Like rings and stuff.
I mean, Rasha would have known about all that kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah, Rasha would have known. Anyone? Any of you guys know anything? And he pulls. Before anyone even really answers, he pulls a kind of handkerchief out of his pocket and opens it up, and there's just like this putrid ring in the middle of the handkerchief, weeping pus. Yeah, my ring started last night. It just started. I don't know. It smells.
I'm sure
I don't think it's supposed to be doing that, or is it?
I think that's less of a jewelry problem and more of a like magical curses sort of issue, personally. But
And
I might
his
be
eyes
wrong,
go
'cause-
wide. It's a curse?
Well, I hate to break it to you, buddy, but things just don't start weeping pus for no reason. Particularly
I
not
thought maybe
inanimate
I broke
objects.
it. It's cursed. Who would have cursed it? He kind of almost like slightly seems a bit angry in his voice. Who would have cursed the ring?
Maybe it was just a prank. No, in all
prank?
seriousness, how did you notice this? What's the deal?
I had a strange dream involving. Do you know the nice? Well, you don't know the nice lady, but there was a nice lady.
Hmm. How did you know this woman?
She lived in the ring.
What was your relationship with her?
She lived in the ring.
Do you think about her often?
Sometimes.
What happens in these dreams? And he's just gone into full like therapy.
Oh well, it's only the one dream actually.
Could you describe it for me, please, Doug?
Sure. So I was in a field, and he goes on to describe the kind of the dream and everything that happens.
And then you threw up and passed out.
Yeah, and then I woke up and I'd actually thrown up for real. I thought it's because I ate too much last night, though. I don't know if it's related to the dream.
Well, I don't know if
I
you
did
have
eat
them
5
anymore,
different
but-
types of meat.
Dreams of real world effects is more like a what's the field like a neuromancy? That's what the archmages used to call it, I think, but it's not really. I don't. What happened to this nice lady?
She was kind of like rotting. Yeah, she was rotting.
Do you guys know the nice lady? Was she rotting at the time that you knew her?
Not really.
Not really,
She had
or no?
a scar, and then occasionally it would look worse than other times, as if she had some sort of disease on the left-hand side of her face, but not like this. This was like she was becoming a corpse, falling apart.
Well, you're a Gab guy, aren't you? Don't the gods give prophetic dreams to their followers or something?
I mean, I guess they do, but I've never had one before.
Aku, this is more your purview. And he kind of like pauses as he says Aku, kind of looks him in the eye and just continues saying Aku. It's more your field, isn't it? Dreams and what have you, as of late.
Dreams. Not really, but the rot does concern me. I mean, it's an issue that we've been aware of for a while.
The rot? What do you mean by the rot?
Would Aku have any idea of like would he assume that there was a connection to like the rot and then this stuff in Zug's dream?
Yeah. When you hear that it was in the place where you first met the rabid Goliath all those years ago, which is all those years, literal years in game, but out of game, but months in game. And that's where the rabid Goliath was. That's where the plague started. That's apparently now ravaging across much of tal'dorei. Yep.
I mean, it sounds very related to the plague issue that we recently discussed, I believe, with. What was her name again? Sylphrena?
Yes. How involved were you with the rot plague thing?
I'd like to say very, but the unfortunate truth is not very. He kind of looks like he's racking his memory, even though it wasn't that long ago. We attempted to find a cure for the plague and failed.
Are you talking about the blood plague? From all those all those years, a year ago.
More like a month ago. Esty.
Oh, yeah. I forget.
Wait, has
Well,
it
what's the real
literally been
time?
a
How
month?
long has
4
it been
months.
since?
Been 4 months in campaign.
Oh, okay, okay.
You guys
alright.
spent 2 months in the barb fields. Okay. In total, over your 2 or 3 trips throughout it. But it has not been long.
Well, I'd like to say don't worry about it, but I don't think that's a very responsible thing for me to say. I think you probably should worry a bit. Listen, is this plague thing something that you, and he turns to Aku, feel strongly about trying to fix? Because it does sound pretty worthy and pretty, well, like a real global issue. So, I mean, why not? We can add it to the list.
I believe it's been an issue that's been going around for a while. They mentioned it a little bit, right? The werewolf plague seems to go by a few names, unless they're different plagues. I don't know. I'm not an expert.
Didn't Sylphrena say something like the victims were saying a word? Pisces. Bonds just pauses, and like his player, he can't say this word. He's just gonna steeple his hands and just say the fish thing.
Pythagoras.
Pythagoras! Was it Pythagoras? Is that what they say when they die?
Maybe. I don't
Wait,
remember.
no, Pythagoras was somebody Vespin knew. No, that was a family friend. You know, like, she gave us some information, right? I suppose we could, if we're going to put the woman in jail or, frame her for shit, or just, call her out for having actually done shit that we don't even need to frame her for, I suppose we could still pick her up on fixing the plague.
No, I think it's a great idea to fix the plague. It sounds harder now, but yes, fix the plague. I think it would be a pretty good campaign point, don't you think?
I really do think that, Askor. I like the way. All right, we're settled. We're going to do it for religious points, and he kind of points at Aku, and also the vote of the populace. Great.
Nice one.
And the
I
moral
guess so.
fulfillment of doing the right thing as well, of course.
Yeah, of course. What about the nice lady, though?
Oh, and the nice lady, yes, and the nice lady for Zug. We're going to help her too.
Oh, you think fixing this plague is gonna fix the ring? And he points at the nasty ring.
What if she has the plague? Or maybe we could get in contact with her and ask some questions. Maybe it was like a extra dimensional cry for help.
You think you can get in contact with her?
Well, I've never met her, but
Well, she's actually a dragon.
oh. He kind of takes a slurp of his protein shake. A dragon, all right.
Yeah, a green one? I can't remember. There are different kinds of dragons.
Green one. Oh, so they're feeling sociable and tangoing with mortals now, are they?
I mean, I don't know. It's a long story. I mean, if you want to, I can tell you.
Sure, I mean, well, I'm going to have to find out eventually.
So
Yeah, I
Zug
mean-
begins to explain the short story of what happened with I forget her name now. The green
Raishan.
dragon in the ring. Raishan, that was it.
Right, Sean, the
Yeah.
deceiver.
And like,
Yep.
you know,
That's her name.
yeah, he starts. He kind of remembers the name. He goes and then begins explaining how he first got the ring after defeating the dead thing. I forget what it's called again. What was it again? It was a
No,
dead Beholden, right?
Yeah, you found the ring on the corpse of a dead adventurer near the corpse of a dead beholder.
Yeah. We found the ring on there, and then it spoke to him for ages, and he grew wings, and then all that stuff. It just goes through the whole story of like start to finish how all that happened.
Well, maybe something happened with her since she flew off. Maybe we should just get in touch and check in with her.
I thought she was just, excited to be free.
All right, well, let's add that to the list. Help the nice lady fix the plague. Easy.
Oh,
Wait, can't we have a dragon on our side? That's a great idea, no?
I mean, we
Very
kind of
good
did.
idea.
Kind of turned me into a bit of a dragon.
Sure, but we can call in a favor or something.
Cool.
Dragons aside, there's no way to really say for sure, but the plague could be related to the rot. And we know what the rot is related to.
Do we? Yeah, of course we do. It's related to. And he kind of stares at you.
The Divine Gate. Talking of the Divine Gate.
Of course, the Divine Gate.
Oh, is it? Oh, of course, there was
As-
rot down there.
As Barnes kindly shared with us last night, the gate is significantly weakened. And
Oh, who did that?
although
That's not good.
Hans just laughs out loud.
although I'm aware that we have plenty to be getting on with today, we really must insist that the subject of the Divine Gate is addressed before we move on. We need to monitor it as soon as possible to determine the extent of the rot in both the Arbor Exemplar and the Netherlight Grove.
Well, I do actually have some good news for you on that one. I took a trip last night to our good old friend Roman over in Rosanna to see Asik Talus, who's looking as handsome as ever, and my ex-colleague Vespin Flores.
Yes.
And though there's little improvement on the Vespin side, Roman has the tree, the Arbor Exemplar, being watched, and he's not seen any sign of anything nefarious. So for the time being, there's no progress being made outside of clearly Asmodeus and God knows who else noticing that it's weakened, but no physical incursions as of yet.
So
Well-
just ghosts then.
That is good news. But surely we should have someone watch the Netherlight Grove as well.
I think that's wise.
Hans, could you perhaps contact... I wonder if Roman knows anyone that could help us. We're pretty tied up here.
With the Netherlight Grove. I don't know where that is, but I can ask him.
Well, I just meant that you have teleportation abilities. Actually, wait, does he know that?
Yeah, because he's been
yeah.
teleporting to from Rosanna. Yeah.
Yeah. I just think that we should have eyes on both of them to monitor the Divine Gates.
I think that's wise. And listen, I know that it's maybe a little unrelatable, my whole, trying to fix a millennia-old lich who destroyed the world, but honestly, as much as I'm helping Vastman to help myself, as well as sort of to help him too, I also do believe that the person who broke the Divine Gate in the first place is probably the person who knows best how to put it back together, so I think the faster I can make progress on him, the more likely we are to arrive at a solution, or at least to have a very big brain, pointed towards the problem.
as long as you can trust him.
Well, he's in high security prison, so if we can't trust him, then he's not going to do anything nefarious.
Does he
There's
ride off
actually another matter that I'd like to bring up. And it's actually the matter of my wonderful painting. And he's gonna like turn to the painting, which is kind of over the dinner table, of himself overlooking a battlefield. And he's gonna wait till everyone's looking at it, in particular Aku. And if Aku's attention is redirected to somewhere else in the room at any point.
So you've just like gone over and pointed to the painting?
He's just sort of like at his seat gone like, I would actually really like to invite you all to have a look at it, because I just really feel like there is a moment where you just see yourself in another world, and this is it. And he's just gonna like wax lyrical for a little bit and just kind of like do this sweeping kind of look over there, like, you know, if he's kind of sat near Aku.
Yeah. I mean, Aku looks at the painting if
And as his head turns, he's gonna like scoop up a glass of ice water, maybe just some ice cubes left in it, and just sort of like lean over to Aku and just like whip a hand out. And you know how he's got like the kind of one shoulder kimono sort of thing? It's almost like a bit of a pouch, a pocket, you know, if you pull it outwards. Gonna whip it and then just dunk the ice down the front of it.
Aku is gonna suddenly hiss at the freezing cold ice that's just been dumped down his top, and he's gonna kind of just suddenly sit up and like try and take it out. And Barnes, what the? And he kind of looks at Barnes for a second, and an idea sort of comes to his mind, and he raises an eyebrow at Barnes and goes, Barnes, did you really think? And at that moment, he just stops talking. And there is like absolute silence in the middle of his sentence for a good 20-30 seconds. And he's just sat there looking at the same place he was looking at Barnes. And his eyes kind of suddenly, he looks kind of groggy, like he just woke up, and he suddenly just squints and turns around and looks at everyone sitting around the table. Looks down at where he's sitting, feeling damp and cold. Looks back up at people and says, Did I fall asleep here?
Good morning, Aku.
Don't fall asleep. You've been here the whole time. Did you sleep? Did you sleep talk? That's incredible.
Hold on. Hayden, I'm confused. What's going on?
Why are you asking me? I'm some sort of expert on everything Aku says and does.
You're talking. Just that you're talking.
I'm not saying anything. Are you okay, Aku?
Well,
Aku looks extremely disorientated. He's sat in a chair that he doesn't look like he remembers sitting down in. He's kind of looking around at it as if there's maybe a joke somewhere that people are gonna burst out laughing at him, but it doesn't come. And he said, yeah, we were in, and he's like trying really hard to remember the last place that he remembers being.
Well, first of all, I'm really sorry for throwing ice down your top. I just, I thought it would partially be funny, and also thought it would be helpful. Aku, what's the last thing you remember?
I remember being. You showed us. You showed us our rooms. I think I remember being in my room with the plants. Was he looks like he's questioning reality right now, but he doesn't want to say anything to make himself sound too crazy. You did. There was the room with the
There
plants,
was a room
right?
of plants, right? Yeah.
Okay.
Not
Yeah.
to mention, yeah, don't worry about that. There's definitely plants up there. So the reason I've brought this up at breakfast, everyone, is partially because I don't know how long you were going to be out for, Aku, but also I think everyone should probably know if you've not noticed it already, but Aku, after what happened to you the other night, I can't help but notice that it seems as though perhaps your other half, your spirit, seems to be maybe hijacking your body a fair bit. He had some choice words for me this morning, sort of high-key threatened to, leave me to rot in my charming palace and among other things, but I just, Aku, I just want to make sure that it's consensual and that it's something that you're in some modicum of control over and that you're comfortable with what's happening. And your face is kind of telling me no, but I'm just asking these questions. I'm obliged to.
So you're saying I found you and threatened you this morning, walked myself down here, and had a conversation today?
This morning. Has anyone else been hanging out with Laku today?
No, it's the first time I've seen him.
Yeah.
Okay. Ascor?
He like turns to Hayden before Askell answers. He turns to Hayden. You were? Did I threaten you too? I mean,
No.
how could I? I mean, Lanharath is never. He looks like really lost. Like when Lanharath has taken over, I am aware. It's still my body. It's still my mind. I would have remembered. I mean, could this be the hag? I mean, but then again, I knew what she was doing and what she was thinking as well.
I don't think it was. I asked him. I called him Lanharath directly. He didn't much seem to like it, actually. But there is recognition in there.
Not to make this any more confusing than it already is, but last time Aku got possessed by Lanharath for a long period of time, he wasn't the worst person in the world. Like, obviously he wasn't as cool as you by any means, but he wasn't, if I recall, he wasn't like a gigantic dick or anything.
As Zug is talking, you can see the anger slowly building. Like things are dawning on Aku, like one at a time, and his face is just like getting slightly redder and slightly redder. And he turns to Zug and I wouldn't describe someone who is taking over my body as not the worst person ever. And he like kicks a stool that's near him. Like he is starting to get really agitated. And he turns to Ascor and says, "What about you?"
And Ascell's
you
obviously
prove
like,
this?
yeah. Say again.
He just says, "Oh, can you corroborate this? Can you prove this?"
As in, can Ascor prove that this happened basically?
Well, no, just like, did Ascor have any interaction with? I mean, I know obviously because it was
Well,
me.
yeah.
I, Sai the
Hey.
player, don't remember. Did I roleplay with you earlier, dude?
I mean, honestly, mood, but yeah, go on.
Yeah. Asu goes, yeah, we spoke. Mostly about campaign. But that wasn't you.
Was that a question or? I have no memory of having a conversation with you, Ascor. And honestly, given the last time we spoke, I am inclined to not believe what you're telling me is true.
In some ways, I was concerned that it went so amicably.
There is some pretty heavy breathing going on. Aku has now started staring into his bowl of food that he hasn't touched the whole morning. Probably something leafy and green that he doesn't remember picking out.
Aku, this is seriously the last thing you remember is going to your room. You don't remember me coming speaking with you. Oh.
Why was it something important? What did you guys talk about?
He like sort of, I don't know, he is pinching the bridge of his nose again. He looks like he has that headache that he was talking about before, and he kind of looks back up at Hayden after a few minutes and says, "No, we talked about the hag."
Yeah.
So it's hazy, Hayden. I'm sorry.
That's
yeah.
fine. That's fine. Okay.
I suppose, Aku, what I want to know is, do I have permission to chuck ice down your pants every time he takes control, or more seriously, do you want to do something about this?
So it was Lanharath.
I mean, can we say that for sure? When the hag took control of my body, she had full understanding of all my memories and what I'd been doing. It's not a stretch.
The way you were just talking about the Divine Gate, about the Arbor Exemplar and the Netherlight Grove, and threatening to stab me if I'd betray you all and did in fact transpire to be evil. It was very very paladinly, actually. It was very sort of nature warrior holy, which sort of leads me to Lanharath over the hag, to be perfectly honest. And he did react to his name, or your name, or how does it work? I need a refresher. What exactly is he to you and you to him?
Aku clearly does not know how to answer this question. If you'd have asked him that several weeks or a month before, he would have adamantly said that he was a person that was, I guess, pestered by this quarry spirit. And now he's not sure of that. He's kind of like looking at Barnes as if, wow, yeah, that is a real question, isn't it?
You want to explore it, maybe? Have a think about it.
Explore what? This is my body. I've barely had control over it for the last couple of weeks. I mean, I obviously don't have any kind of power over my own mind, my own body. I don't really know what you expect me to do about this. He's still, like, agitated as fuck, like...
No, I know, but I think together, the lot of us, we can keep an eye out, we can keep an eye on you, we can... If he takes over, do you want us to just evict him? Because we can do that. It was an old trick with the ice. If you shock somebody who's disassociating, it sort of works. And it's not quite the same, obviously, you're being possessed, but, you know, we can try things less cold. but more than that, if you want to try and work things out with him and just find a balance, because we've gone from last week after the Arbor Exemplar to him physically manifesting to the river and now this, and something's not quite right, I think.
Well, there's clearly an issue now. I understand that. I mean, we have to do what we can to keep. I mean, but from the sounds of it, you said that Lanharath, if it is Lanharath, had talked about the Divine Gate being weakened. Now, if Lanharath didn't have an idea of what I was doing and know what was going on, then he wouldn't have known about the conversation we'd had yesterday. So why would it be the case that I have no consciousness of Lanharath's actions, but
Right,
he does of mine?
He has access to you, but not the other way around. Interesting. Honestly, Akko, I said it before, but I really think we should try some drugs.
He's processing. He doesn't look like the idea of drugs is a bad idea, but he's taking some deep breaths and still looks infuriated. He says, well, at this point, I'm willing to try about anything, just about anything.
Well, we have a busy schedule, but whatever order you want to do things in, I mean, we've got this space for like 12 hours and I can recreate it at the end of the day. We can turn your room into a little, therapy garden. Hayden, you can join in. We can have a great time.
Sure. Aku, when Lanharath took over a couple weeks ago, and he was kind of running things for a couple of days there, were you aware of anything that was happening back then? Were you able to see what he was seeing? And
I mean, I had no control, but I could see pretty much everything. That's how it's always worked with Lanharath. There's only been maybe one occasion in which my memory of Lanharath's actions was hazy.
when was that?
He suddenly looks defensive. Well, let's just say that the reason this happened to me, and he points to his scar, was not a consequence of my actions, but Lanharath's.
And, well, if you have no knowledge of what he's been doing this time, are you aware of, well, you're not aware of the things you've been saying, but you sent your friend off pretty harshly.
What friend are you talking about?
Your rock friend.
Rasha.
Told him you'd
No, I remember speaking to Rasha.
You told him you'd gladly condemn him to death again. Bonds just again takes a very loud slap of his protein through a thick straw. And then just passes the thing down to an imp and waits for another one.
There is
Fuel.
a very
Why were you mean to my previous character? Sorry, please go on.
There is a very long pause as Bond says that. Could you repeat that?
I guess Bonds will repeat as close to exactly what he remembers Lanharath saying and just says, I mean, maybe it was you. I just assumed that was him, and I just also thought that you'd want to know that you said that.
Aku immediately interrupts him by screeching his chair back as he gets up and does his best attempt at literally flipping the fucking table.
My
All
mashed
the imps kind of
potatoes.
scatter. The imps kind of scatter. All the food goes everywhere. Goes to, and one of the imps you just hear them say,
Jamie,
"Recycled times."
can I do a dex save to see if I rescue my mashed potatoes?
You absolutely can.
Oh thank God.
I see what's important to you.
Yeah. 28 minus 2.
You save all the mashed potatoes.
Thank God. Okay. Step away from the flips too.
And yeah, I suppose like after that, he is most likely gonna need some time to process and walks very loudly, slamming doors behind him, like not like how he was earlier, and goes to his room.
Hans's
Okay.
eyes are gonna like traipse around the imps, find the one that was waiting to be kicked, and be like, "Well, that's your opportunity if you go wait on him in his room."
Kind of scurries off again. The rest of you are left with the occasional ringing metal sounds of plates settling into the slop of food rolling down the walls, the scurrying of imps beginning to clean up the mess that has been left behind.
Well, that went well.
So, if that wasn't Aku saying that to Russia and it was Lanharath, maybe we should let Russia know?
That's
'Cause-
probably pretty important for his peace of mind.
I mean, they were really close friends.
Mm.
Like, they used to,
That's
like, they knew each other for a long time. Not a good way to end things, right?
No, it's really not. Maybe we should. Aku will be alright, but I think we probably need to help him with his problem, because I don't think Lanharath feels fairly unremorseful. Wait, one second, my door.
We will probably break soon.
Inshallah.
Inshallah.
Hi,
Hello.
Hello.
where are we at?
You saying we should probably tell him soon.
Right, and however I can help Aku, I will. I did some work with disassociative patients, and this just isn't the same, but I'll see what I can remember and fish out. I've got some notes from my old home, and maybe I can think of some useful ways to get him and Lanharath coexisting more normally.
Yeah. Should we give Aku some time to cool down, but then maybe we should go deal with the Hannah Wasserman stuff first?
I agree. Yeah. Well, yeah. Our minds all made up.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know if the therapy that you want to try is gonna work right away, so might take some time, right?
I don't think Aku's in the state for it. I think he'd just as soon kick me. So,
Yeah. Okay then.
let's deal with Hannah.
Yeah.
Ascor von Galverdane.
Hello.
How do you want to do this?
I cast Meteor Storm.
On him on.
Hold on. So, I kind of slightly forgotten the plan, if I'm honest. So we've obviously investigated her. We found out some bits. We've got some date where we need it, including the planting of the sigil of the dynasty. And then we were going to go and approach the Council of tal'dorei, would it not? Was that for a different?
Yeah,
Getting
so we
mixed up now.
have Hannah Wasserman's soul, so we know we can return her back to life. We know that Sylphrena definitely was there when she died because she definitely cast the soul cage, and we have evidence to suggest she was staking out the pub or the manor where was it a tavern where Hannah died. So she's very, very indicted.
Yeah.
So we were gonna go return Hannah and be like, look, we solved the crime. I think we were gonna try and keep doors open because there's still the Cecil Fortomp connection that we want to investigate. So I think we were gonna say, like, before you pull the trigger on Sylphrena and Nilvendra, there's one thing we want to look into, but we just wanted to return Hannah to her rightful place. I think was the plan because we didn't want to give too much away.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Doesn't give too much away to
Council.
council.
And I think we were also
Cool.
going to try only speak to a small number of them so they weren't aware that Aku and Hayden were there to try and, like, lessen the risk of clasp stuff. Vox Machina. We were going to talk to Vox Machina because we trusted them. Because we told Percy about the Wand of Orcus and shit, so we figured.
Yeah. Cool. Askell probably replies in that case, well, we could go and speak to the council. A few of them, as we've discussed before, about what a ridiculous name. Hannah Wasserman. But ultimately we can there's still one more individual we need to keep an eye on.
Right. And I suppose there's still the matter of, are we going to try and still frame Sylphrena for your father's death? Or...
Well, we'll think about that later. I think we should
Right.
focus on these tasks
First
in
things
hand.
first. Agreed.
Yeah, we have some of that in our pocket already. We can capitalize on some of this later, but there's still more to collect.
Gentlemen, it occurs to me if we want brownie points with the Council of tal'dorei and or Vox Machina, and we are serious about clearing the plague and all of that, we could probably ask them about what they know and share our own information. And you really
It's
do
true.
have points for your campaign, because you've already started.
Absolutely. I feel like maybe bringing back this Wasserman, maybe it's a good way to open the conversation.
That's your foot in the door. Good. Great.
Okay. Just looking at the time. If you guys, we will have a break now until 10:02, and then we'll see how long people want to play for. But obviously, there's been a lot of talking. What we'll probably do is when we come back, we'll have a discussion about where you guys are going and who's going, and move out of this room for this session.
Spoken in multiple rooms, okay? We've spoken in at
multiple
least
rooms.
3.
Multiple rooms.
Look, I'm sorry. It's my
That's
fault.
no need to apologize. Just saying. We will accomplish things other than backstory roleplay, which is important. Anyway,
The whole
thank
reason
you
we're
everyone
here.
for watching. We'll be back at 10 to 10.
See you guys soon. Bye.
Bye.
Yeah.
Back to D&D. After some revelations about Aku's personality, Barnes' place in the world, some conversations that people perhaps wish that others remembered better. You are now all had your fill of food. You have made plans to go and talk to the Council of tal'dorei, or at least attempt to. Who is going? And perhaps it's worth a final discussion amongst yourselves about what your strategy is.
Does anyone not want to go out of character?
Out of character, I'm ready. I'm excited. But in character, Hayden's like scared to get spotted. Still meant to be hiding from the clasp.
Aku will at some point awkwardly come downstairs after having calmed down a bit and just silently traipse along with everyone else.
Nice. Can we think of a way to, like, lessen the clasp risks?
Guys,
they're going in disguise and we're not mentioned. I mean, it should be okay, right?
It should
And
be
we're-
okay, right?
We're only talking to a select few of them, and
Jamie's here.
he's spent so long badgering us that we never go to the authorities. If he burns us when we go to the authorities a second time, it's
That's
like...
true.
But yeah, so I mean, we're just gonna do the Hannah thing, right? And I guess Mr. Galverdane is kind of your show.
He's there for it. He's on it. Let's do it. And also, let's get them tunes rolling again.
I got you, Luke. I've hit play.
All right. So, making your way through town.
Downtown.
Are you disguised in any way?
I'm wearing the hat disguise.
Okay. And Aku?
That's a good point, actually. I feel like probably all of the work that Hayden did to make Aku look slightly different is potentially not really there anymore.
Probably
now that he's
washed
had
off.
a couple of sleeps. I mean, I don't know if he's had a shower. Probably not, but
I mean, if the disguise is worn off and we're talking about going outside, Hayden will probably take some time aside to reapply the disguise. Jamie, do I need to roll a new disguise kit check?
Yes, you will do.
Okay. So I believe the disguise kit is dexterity modifier plus proficiency plus 20?
Yep.
Okay. That is a 17.
17.
Wait, if I have proficiency in something... Oh wait, no, I still won't change the number. Yep, 17.
So it's not as good as last time. Sorry, I think you rolled worse last time. It's a pretty good disguise, Aku. Your clothes look fairly different. You're managed to scrape together through the various stuff to a wig. What have you used to make this disguise? Is it a disguise kit, or have you taken stuff from the mansion?
Oh, no, it's a disguise kit. I would have
Um,
used makeup.
yeah,
and, like-
Aku's skin looks a lot paler. The kind of almost contouring change the face shape ever so slightly. If you're looking for Aku, it won't fool you. But if you're looking past in the street, it only bears a passing resemblance.
Aku's like cousin or something.
Yeah,
Baku.
Aku.
Baku's back.
Back again.
Baku's back. All right.
Okay, so
Zug, are you disguising yourself?
Where are we going again?
the cloud.
Just tal'dorei.
oh my god, you
God.
guys.
No, I don't mean like.
Does
Well,
that
we're
need
going
to
to
be
Palace
Palace
disguised?
to see the council of Tal'dorei.
Yeah.
the city.
guess
I
we could
mean,
use this as a
he
chance
wouldn't want to
redeem
like
him.
fully trans. Yeah, I mean, like maybe just like a cloak to hide it. He would just want a full disguise. He's not going to put a stupid
Okay.
moustache on. Really.
A cloak. I will absolutely say that you guys have access to a cloak.
Score employs his hat of disguise to maintain the appearance. Excuse me. Just this cough, it just sounds like I think all my jokes are funny, but it's not the case. I'm just like coughing at the end of things. Anyway, Ascor just appears as an elderly man, probably a religious one, in robes of a mundane religion in its appearance, something inoffensive, some kind of like deity of grain.
Just to clarify, we have 2 hats of
Hello.
disguise in the party, right?
Yes, I think so.
I think I gave mine to someone, didn't I?
Yeah, you gave yours to me. So I just I just wasn't sure if the one that you had used to belong to Ascor and we had accidentally cloned one of our magical items.
No. He bought his own ages ago from a silver cut or something.
Cool. All right, we're good then.
Okay,
Right.
so your role wearing disguises. You make your way through Imon. Could I just get one person to roll a d20? Tell me the result.
No,
You
me.
don't want it to be me.
I'm the only not disguised boy.
Clued, you have your birthday D20.
For a later use.
Don't
No,
make
we're
a
gonna use
waste
it.
on
We're gonna
this.
use it for a generic stealth check.
Mm.
Who wants to roll
I
it?
can do it.
You roll it, Luke.
I can do it. Yeah.
Lucky Luke.
I'm gonna use it to
Okay.
seduce someone in Vox Machina.
Oh my god, yes.
Or
thought
Silas
this was
Briarwood, maybe.
Whatever floats your boat, mate.
Aim for the
alright,
stars.
let's roll a D20. Bosh. It's a, decent 14.
14. All it was to see if you guys have how many checks you guys went past. You guys managed to make your way through most of them on. Those of you with keen eyes don't seem to draw any attention despite being a fairly odd group. Imon is the capital of human civilization in tal'dorei. There are oddities around every street. It's every day there's an event, a festival, something there's an election on, the harbour, people are coming in and out. You barely raise an eyelid, and you make your way through the Cloudtop district. Ascor, this is an area of the city you know very well. It is home to the Galvadane estate. It is home to many of the seats of power of various families. Much of the civic buildings happen here or around the Alabaster Lyceum, and you walk unaccosted all the way up to the gates outside of the why have I suddenly forgotten the Cloudwatch Palace, which you know was previously the seat of the royalty of Imon. Now is of course the seat of the House of tal'dorei, and outside you see the palace guards wearing what instantly appears to be quite different from the arms of Imon. They're kind of got red and brown, kind of both dark, with kind of the patterns interwoven throughout their shields, spears, and two of them standing there. They're a lot more alert than some of the guards you've seen before, as you'd expect. These clearly have more training, or are at least better paid than the guards throughout Imon. As you approach, they kind of stand to attention, look you up and down, seem to be waiting for you to say something, as they don't seem to be opening the gate behind them.
Urgent business for the Council of tal'dorei pertaining to the matter of the attack on the square the other day, the plague, the rot. We're the nice boys. We have news.
Very well. You are.
Or at least
Remind me.
I'm the nice boy here. These are my retainers.
It's a nice boys. We had reports that was what the groups called themselves who defeated that creature. I'm correct, yes.
Is there follow-up information that needs to go straight to the council? It's a matter of public security, completely urgent.
The entire council, or did you have a member in mind?
Ideally, and he turns to Ascor.
You hear in your head, Percival.
Percival. Percival.
I should see if his lordship de Rolo is in. Would his wife do and if not?
Absolutely. She's great. Yeah. Love her.
Cool. One of them leaves, kind of nodding to the other one, and walks inside the palace. Is there anything final thing you all want to say to each other? Final thing makes it sound like you're all about to die.
Doesn't really actually.
Ascor, are you gonna show your true face in there, or are you just gonna be a
Well,
grim
yeah.
guy? You are, right?
You hear telepathically still, the link's still then. You hear telepathically. No, of course. I mean, they'll probably just see through this or something like that. We need to make it almost obvious. Not obvious, but clear that our disguises are just a vehicle to get us there.
Sure.
Ultimately, we're here to claim the victory and the points.
Go get them. Points mean prizes, you know.
The guard returns and says, they have been alerted to your presence. If you wouldn't mind stepping inside, they'll be with you shortly.
Thank you.
And you
Oh,
are
thank you.
all ushered in to the large, what would have once been the welcoming hall. As the hello.
Can the old man make
Can an old man make an insight check to the urgency of the gentleman at the gate?
Yes, go for it.
And by urgency, I mean really like. Let's see what you rolled first. That's a 24. It's a strong old roll. Just to basically check out, like, is this a kind of like, oh yeah, no, just don't go anywhere. Wait here. No, wait here. Call the guards. Call the guards. Call the guards. Or is it just like, it's like, oh no, I'll be with you.
You get the sense that he, for the 24, there's no panic in him. There's no stress. His weapon's not being held a bit tighter. It's a bit like for you, this is a big deal, but for him, this all seems run of the mill. You don't get the sense that he's like laughing at you either. He's going to escort you here, and from your interpretation of what's been happening, the others, the members of the High Council will greet you. You don't know how long it's going to take. He doesn't seem in a particular rush, but certainly you aren't expecting to about to be ambushed by guards, based on that roll.
Vibes.
Cool.
Do we get like ushered into like a DMV waiting room and we get like a ticket number and we're gonna be waiting here for 3 hours?
There is a large wooden door that swings open, revealing what will once be the central reception room of this large stone palace. Still to this day, there are paintings of the various monarchs throughout it, along with various portraits of different parts of tal'dorei, seemingly mirroring up to kind of where they'd be roughly geographical. So there's a painting of Craghammer, Whitestone. There's even one of a hill with kind of what perhaps some of you would know to have been Bane's helmet on top, which represents the capital of the Hobgoblin Empire to the south. And you are brought in, and as you step through the door, there is almost, if you're passing through a very film, or it's like it says electric little thing, and you kind of feel yourself passing through something as if there's a film of dust there. And as the first person who steps through it, who would that be?
Probably me.
Cool. You feel a bit off, Barnes. Almost as if the things that are holding you together, not as strong as perhaps they should be.
Is it the same feeling as when we
When you're at the
entered?
Gavardane party, yes.
He's gonna pause and immediately whip round to Ascor and be like, "The same thing as at your house."
I mean, who's here? What do you mean?
Anti-magic aura when he walked through the veil. I suddenly feel really sick.
Oh, well, we're here to tell the truth anyway, aren't we?
We are. Just, yeah.
Right.
Cloaks up. Hayden, Haku.
One by one you walk in, and all magical effects on you in that moment fail. The Hat of Disguise fails. Any buffs fail. Magic, you don't know whether or not it'll be cast, but at least whatever enchantment you had on now end. And the guard kind of ushers you to some wooden benches around the side, and doesn't seem particularly perplexed that your appearances have changed. It seems, again, not run of the mill, not unexpected.
Sure.
As I sit you down, I'll let them know you're here. They were in a meeting. I suspect they won't be long, but well, you never know how long these things can last.
Thank you.
Thank you. Excuse me, my good friend. Could you update us as to the magic policy inside the building?
Well, we prefer that none is cast whatsoever, but should you need to escape, for whatever reason, he kind of smiles to himself, or cast to demonstrate, I'm sure that certain exceptions can be made.
Well, sometimes, and because, well, my boots are dusty, for example, and often I recruit the use of my companions, let's say, to clean my boots.
I'm sure you can wait.
That's fine. Just asking.
Hypothetically, if I were to start shining his shoes, would there be an alarm, or would we just frown and say, "Don't do that again"?
I think if you attempted to sign his tunes, it would certainly be a most serious frown.
Well, I hope you don't regard me too gravely then. Bat some eyelashes at him.
Smiles. Could I get you anything in the meantime? Food, water, shoe shiner, polish.
Manners.
Don't be like that. I think he's quite charming.
A butler. Manners is what you're after.
And then Nazgul sort of slightly turns to Bonds and goes, I thought that's what he was.
Bonds just laughs and says, not on the amount you pay me. Jeez. My rates are at least triple.
No,
I'm
not
fine.
as if Bonds, as if about
Oh,
Bonds,
what,
as
as
if
in
the
the
guard.
Right. In which case, Bonds just laughs and shakes his head and says, well, probably somebody in the party would like some tea. Not me personally, but teas, anybody? No.
I mean, yeah. Or something stronger. Happily take an
Me.
ale if there was one around.
For the gentleman, ale in advance of our urgent political meeting. And
Oh, fantastic.
You see the guard kind of walk away and talk to one of the servants who are walking around, who will return with ale for Zug. And he kind of, you see him stand at the door. The doors are closed, but they're still slightly ajar. And those of you who look through could see this guy kind of within eyeshot still of all of you. And there are people this room is fairly busy. There are people constantly walking in and out. You see various people who are clearly like functionaries, dignitaries, occasional guards come past. Occasional you see someone very finely dressed to kind of storm out of a room into another room. And about 10 minutes go past before you are approached by a white-haired, tall man wearing a blue coat with two with one flintlock pistol and one much longer gun at his side that you recognize, or some of you do at least, as Percy Milski, something whose name I cannot remember.
well,
He will walk up to you and say, "Ah, I'm honestly surprised to see you all, well, some of you alive again. Welcome.
Oh, thank you.
I'm sure we have a lot to catch up on."
nice to meet you. I'm a revenant, so I'm dead, but, thank you for the greetings, the friendly welcome at least.
Yes, I haven't met you yet. And you're missing somebody.
Are we?
You're a purple tiefling short.
Oh, long story. Yeah, he's not with us anymore.
Sounds like a bad breakup.
You could say that.
Do you have a private room, perhaps? Perhaps you and your wife, if she's around.
Lady Vexalia is not around. There are some of the others, but I was the one you asked for, and I'm the one you've got, at least for now.
Right? Well,
I must, however, extend this, if my reports I've heard are true, extend the city and my thanks for your efforts in cleaning up the attack.
on our part.
We would do anything for this city.
Glad to hear it. Yes, a private room. Come with me. And he takes you into a medium-sized kind of room with a large wooden table, and again, kind of tapestries and portraits that seem to be ubiquitous around this place, with two large windows facing out across the sea. And you see him kind of sit down and pull a file off the thing and sit down and kind of open it up and gesture for you all to kind of sit around with him at the head of the table. Please, if you wouldn't mind.
Jamie, how's Percival de Rolo looking?
It's been about 10 years, so you're not sure if his white hair is becoming white because he's what he's been through now or because he's getting old. He's still looking, yeah, he's looking a bit older, but he's not looking. Actually, roll an insight check.
Roll
I don't
it.
know if you're asking if he was hot or not, but
Well, as a player, I know that Percy's hot, but
Has he aged like a fine wine? Is he even like
right,
hotter
how's he
now?
aging? 23.
23. Percy is stressed. You can see sleepless kind of lids underneath. He's paler than normal. His voice is ever so slightly croaky, as you imagine. He's probably spent a lot of time talking. Clearly, whatever has been happening, you know there are issues afoot. Percy is stressed. And that comes through. And he's not in a hurry or rush necessarily to talk to you. But certainly Percy probably could do with a lot of sleep. He kind of sits down and motions for you all to sit.
Oh, Mr. De Rolo, I think we're about to take a pretty heavy weight off your shoulders.
Sorry, I
Asgore.
haven't actually been introduced. You are the Revenant.
Ah.
I hope you, whatever you are here to do, you achieve, but they can be a touchy subject around here, so thank you for
Oh.
letting me know. Please don't mention it again.
Right. Of course, I forget. People in this age are so touchy. Boris Costello, nice to meet you. But anyway, let's relieve your attentions. and
Don't
not
be
discuss
modest,
mine.
Barnes. And he interrupts and goes, De Rolo, as if speaking just to another kind of, noble. As if they maybe attended not the same school, but you know what I mean. That kind of shit. Rich people shit. And he turns to Barnes and goes, well, Barnes here is actually a highly esteemed psychologist in his field, and companion here amongst the nice boys.
I'm sure to be associated with a group carrying the item you were last carrying with, you must have some skill.
Right. Yes, I sort of dropped in halfway through that one, so I've been through the ringer with them. What a time that was.
Am I to take it from that you no longer are in possession of that item?
Went pretty well, actually, right? Nat. All things considered.
Which item is he talking about?
Cucumber.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we got rid of that.
Orcus's giant spooky cucumber.
Yeah. Can we talk about it now we don't have it anymore? Surely we can.
I guess we can, sure.
Yeah,
Sure, it belonged to
we
Orcus.
destroyed it.
An odd moniker, but
Well,
I
we didn't want anyone,
suppose
getting any ideas.
discretion is the better part of valor. It's gone. Who has it?
The
Nobody.
ether. It's
It's
dissipated.
been destroyed.
Yeah, we destroyed it.
Dust.
You destroyed it.
Damn near killed us, but we did.
Wow. Let's say I wasn't expecting that.
Well, it was causing us problems. We had to get rid of it.
And it had to be done, not just us for the safety of, and again, he's sort of doing his statesmanly shit. And for the safety of the realm, it was imperative that we take that upon ourselves.
Oh,
As
well.
good of the realm as ever on Asgore's mind, after all.
In these
And,
trying times, how can it not be? And he sort of looks wistfully to the window.
Having saved the world from the threat of Orcus, we actually turned our attentions to something a little closer to home. Asgore, I think this is maybe the moment.
Are we just saying I'm in possession of the Decage de Silver?
Same with primed you, yeah, you're primed to swoop in.
Cool. And DM, what would there be any magical effects on the cage itself? Since we've come into a kind of
No, it's powerful enough to bypass. You'll definitely find that.
and yeah, presumably our bag of holding hasn't just spewed everything
No.
out and then we walked in
This
the
is
door.
like enchantments and effects deliberately. Your bag of holding hasn't disintegrated or got everything. So yeah, as you pull out the cage and kind of place it on there, it's just a silver cage with a purple light inside it. There's no kind of nasty
I think at
effects.
first
or
we'll have
anything.
like just a cloth on top of it, and he'll sort of pull the cloth away.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
are you familiar with what this might be?
I'm a little. I have theories, but this isn't exactly a time for guessing. If it would be, I'd be more than happy for you to enlighten me.
Absolutely. Hayden, what did you refer to this? This is again?
Sorry, which are you referring to, the soul
It's-
cage?
Yeah, the soul cage. Yeah.
I think it's a soul cage. Barnes knows about these things.
Is indeed a soul cage. An object that contains the spirit of the deceased captured at the moment of their passing. Do you have any theories about who's in it? Or shall we just solve a big problem for you in one swoop?
You hear in your headphones. Stop being so fucking gleeful.
He just can't help himself. He's just grinning. He's having the time of his life.
I can tell you're enjoying this, so it's going to. I hope it makes me as happy as it's clearly making you.
Hans like does jazz hands and goes, "Well, this is the soul of."
And Asko interrupts. It's what we believe to be Hannah Wasserman.
Percy's eyes do go straight up, and he kind of like crumpled his hand, furrows his brow, and goes, "Now that would not only be intriguing, but make a whole lot of sense.
Right.
Do
I
go
am.
on.
Well,
Why would it make a lot of
that's
sense?
obviously why I wouldn't all this time have been able to contact her. Clearly, was uncontactable. I'm
Oh.
fascinated to know where you got this.
Well, we
and
definitely
who
didn't
you
make
got
it.
from.
Well,
Yeah.
hold
Well,
on.
I must hope so. Otherwise, this is an odd confession.
It would be, wouldn't it?
Would be an odd play, wouldn't it? No, the
Oh,
story of
yes.
how we came by it is quite something.
Quite
I've got to
something, and
say-
I think we should be honest in saying it's not the time to tell right now. I think it would, if I can be honest, jeopardize the rest of our operations currently to divulge that information. I think maybe for now it's best that you and your people investigate this, corroborate and verify. We will tell you more in time.
What I will say is that we're still investigating leads to follow up on that. And Percival, I understand that you're a great man. I've not been around here for very long, but the word is rife on the street of your epic deeds and all that. But the things that's involved with this, it's a little concerning for us as just people off the street, you see, and to look after our own backs and to make sure that we're covering bases and giving you the right information as well and not jumping any guns. We just want to play
I'd like
this
you
one a
both
little
to make
cautiously.
persuasion checks. Both of you. Just you're not lying. You just don't want to tell him.
Plus 15, 24.
It's 15 from me. Let me think. That was only a 5 I rolled, so I'm gonna drop a point to re-roll it. But I feel like every time I do this, it just fucking backfires in my face. I mean,
Not
try and do it.
much worse than a 5.
Yeah, statistically. Well, let's see what happens though. Natural 20. So
20.
for an overall
Natural
of 30.
20. Ooh. It's over a total of 30. Okay. Whilst I struggle to see the logic of bringing me this and not telling me who's it from, that must mean that you believe they are not in a position to cause any more harm between now and when you would be willing to tell me.
We just think there are a few things at play. It's a tightly woven web, and we're just not sure which thread we can pull at quite yet.
see.
And we thought it was of the utmost importance to bring this to you as soon as we could. And here we are.
We couldn't sit on somebody's soul at our kitchen table, could we? A woman deserves her body back and her life.
He kind of goes out to the window, or looks over to the window and smiles to himself, and all of you can make an insight check.
Hmm.
Okay, 23.
What if Vax Machina are the bad guys, guys?
Does Percy think we're cute?
Nat 20.
That's
15.
20.
Okay, that's
11.
good.
11.
Zog has seen many men try.
13 over here. Oh, 15 over here, sorry.
15. Don't think many men. 15? He just looks pleased. Clearly this is a mystery solved. 15 or 20. It's a slight...
No,
Uh,
Nat 20.
no,
lost
don't
him.
leave us hanging.
Ah!
Okay, Zug.
Oh, he's back.
James,
right,
we've
you cut
lost
out a
Oh,
you.
little
sorry.
bit.
Hello. Oh, sorry.
Sorry
We lose.
about
Okay,
that.
apologies.
Yeah.
15 to 20 is a smile of someone who's just solved a puzzle. You may assume, based on your rolls or that you know his mind is racing. You can clearly see that. This is Hannah's soul. What can they do? How can they investigate it? With a natural 20, Zug,
Uh-huh.
you see him look out over the window, out over towards the docks. And the smile appears as he's there. And it's a smile of someone that you've seen before, of somebody who has just worked out a puzzle in that moment and is looking at what he thinks is the solution.
Yo, he knows? Did I get
And
any of that
Zug,
with 23?
I'll say with it, yes, with the 23 as well, you get that. And both of you look and follow his gaze. And you see the lack of the red water jewel on the horizon.
Uh-oh.
Oh shit, boys
Oz
in on
is just
it.
gonna
Wait,
follow.
sorry, just to clarify, that's the boat that Sylphrena was
Yeah.
on? Oh dear.
Oh, fuck. Buzz is going to follow a line of sight, put his hand on Asko's shoulder, shake his head, and just say, no, actually, I think we do need to come clean. Yeah. Mr. De Rolo, you're looking right at it, or it should be.
He turns around. I did wonder what had caused a prospective elector to scurry away in the middle of the night.
We may have stolen a few items from her. Well,
Stolen
Stolen,
is a strong
reclaimed.
word, Zug.
yeah.
Found.
We had reason to believe that she. We went into her boat to meet her after the rally. We wanted to understand who we were potentially getting in bed with after, intervening and.
As one often would like to.
As one often would understandably like to know. We found some things in her office that sort of rubbed us the wrong way. And actually, wait, would Bonds have picked up enough about Vecna? Yeah, we've spoken about Vecna and Vox Machina. Yeah,
Yeah.
of course. He'll say, and rather concerningly, I think, on your end, particularly perhaps, a note from the cult of Vecna, among other things, the soul cage spell, and that sort of got our minds racing. We returned in the dead of night. We found the soul cage, some other bits of parchment. We believe, well, some notes corroborating the fact that she had been staking out the inn where Hannah was staying or having her dinner with what was his name, Ceres?
Yes, Mr.
Patrols
Valdez.
watching that tavern. And of course, with Soul Cage, you have to be there in person. It's sort of like a short range spell, so Sylphrena has to have been there if it were her to cast it. But
Those of you perhaps now attempting to work out or worry or wonder or think why perhaps Sylphrena checked, you'll remember that there was a chest on the desk when you originally met Sylphrena that was faintly glowing purple. Clearly, perhaps the only time this cage or this thing was ever directly out of sight was when they were sleeping. So its theft probably did not go unnoticed for long. And the fact that it could
Right.
not be located on the material plane because it was inside Bard's magnificent mansion
Hell yeah!
probably meant that the panic button set rather than. I'd say most of you, as you're now attempting to work this out, can come to those conclusions.
Right, okay. So yeah, Bonds is just gonna try and like tell him things. He's not
Yeah.
gonna mention seeing who we believe to be Cecil Forton on the deck.
No,
He's
that's
maybe
fine.
gonna like leave that one out. And Asgore might well cotton onto that one as something that we are holding back because it pertains to the
Yeah.
Galvadanes.
Percy sits there and listens. He goes, I'm curious. This is all obviously very useful, but why did you feel the need to withhold it from me? Sylphrena was still here. What was your plan?
Like I said, there's another lead that we want to investigate that just doesn't feel quite right for us to be putting out in the open. Clearly, she's not going to do any harm with it now. But
Well, not immediately, anyway.
we also weren't sure about Sylphrena. She didn't seem like an evil woman. To be honest, her partner, though, her partner's cheating on her. She was in the brothel. But, like,
I
Sylphrena,
struggle to see how that is relevant.
well, there's, how do I put this? I don't get the sense that Sylphrena is doing this for power or for the sake of it. I think she genuinely, and he's kind of like referencing maybe to what Aku was talking about the previous night. She's got the sense that she does want to help to some extent. Sort of, somehow. It's weird. She didn't give me like maniacal vibes, you know.
I think she was conflicted. Her associate, as you say, or partner, hard to tell half the time,
Speaking of
maybe
conflict,
had greater ambitions. There was something of a conflict to be had there.
much more
So
eloquent than me,
in
yeah.
some cases, it seemed as if the ends could justify the means, and sometimes the means couldn't be justified. And that was, well, we don't know where they are. Just their ship's gone. They could be a port down from here. But I think there was some kind of conflicted outlook between the two of them.
I think actually there's a bit of an easy segue onto the second part of our reason for coming here. Speaking of Sylphrena and internal conflict, the whole reason we started investigating her was actually at the rally. We listened to her speech, and right before the rot flower, the medallions, the guards, right before all of that happened, I so happened to be detecting her thoughts because, you know, why not? She's a political figure. And she said something internally to the effect of, like, it has to happen, or what a shame, or something like that. And it just rubbed me the wrong way. I just can't shake the feeling that there's some connection to the fact that the plague rot flower bloomed in that square immediately after, in a crowd of Galverdane supporters. She had notes pertaining to the plague on her desk. It doesn't line up well, you know.
You all strike me as people who hate coincidences.
Unless they are convenient.
He kind of looks at you, he's like confused about that. Often they are. I suspect a long conversation is needed with Miss Valano. I wouldn't worry too much, Mr. Galverdane, about her making port nearby. If you had your magical traps and enchantments or whatever she placed in your way broken, something incriminating stolen, I'm sure you'd run quite far as well.
Well, I couldn't even begin to imagine what that would be like.
Quite. Thank you for bringing me all of this. Thank you for bringing me back at least a part of Hannah. We'll see if she wishes to be returned to her body. Or, more likely, souls separated for a long time do want to move on. What she can tell us, although maybe that's torture too far, given that much of the mystery is resolved. That does lead us on to the matter of the plague.
Right.
It's more worrying that Sylphrena has potentially been involved in that. Political disputes and murders are distasteful, but an unhappy reality of the human condition.
You sound like an archmage.
A plague ravaging half the continent is a bigger problem, and one I am eager to solve.
He gave us a lead, actually. And I believe I personally wasn't there, but some of you were there at its inception. I think maybe if we were able to help Iman solve this crisis, Percival, what would that mean for us? What support would we have?
If it pauses, are you in regards to information, manpower, resources? What are you looking for?
Well, we have some small leads. There's a name we'd like to investigate. I don't know if the rest of you have some thoughts about the plague in its original state form, the things you encountered before, but information, potentially manpower, travel, maybe.
Well,
The power, we have a lot of that.
I'm sure you do. Well, you've certainly earned the gratitude and the resources and trust to use the resources that we have available. Reports, samples, travel, should you require it. All justified, of course, and approved, but if you have any ideas, I'm sure myself, mages, and other members of the council are more than open to ears. We have found, at the moment at least, no cure. Quarantine and extermination is not exactly a tasteful solution, although it may soon become a necessary one.
Zerg looks obviously
That's
uneasy.
Percy de Rolo right there. Sorry, go on.
Mr. Rolo.
Mr. Rolo?
I have something that perhaps you could help with. A man of your seniority.
I'm not sure if I should be flattered or insulted, but please continue.
He kind of flustered a moment. I did not mean any offense. In our investigation, it has taken quite a lot longer than we originally anticipated, and I may have, by pure chance, forgotten to tell my commander as to where I was and what I was doing, and I would very much appreciate it if perhaps someone slightly higher up could, explain. I very much like not being hung.
I'm sorry. Did you say you remember the guard to begin with, or you haven't said that yet?
I don't know if you
Oh,
mentioned it when they first met. I have no idea.
And
I can't remember what he
sorry.
was wearing back then either.
Similar thing.
Yeah.
Bit less stressy, bit more kind of
He was probably wearing his red
ready
shirt.
to fight. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. He wasn't wearing his Amon outfit. Or I don't know if he was wearing anything that was like indicative of being a god of
I think you
Amon or
very
whatever.
quickly got rid of that.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, and who was your commander, and which organization do you belong to?
The Amon god.
Ah, I see. And your commander, Sergeant
What's the
Vimes.
name of my commander? I don't know.
Sergeant Vimes.
Sergeant Mimes.
Ah, a contentious man.
Yes. He doesn't like it when you're late, and I
Yes,
am
a stickler for
very,
the rules, I've heard.
very, 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 very late.
I'm sure that, given your recent service and the discovery of this, some clemency can be granted, although I'm sure some discretion of his will be allowed. He's smiling again.
Oh, thank you. I would very much appreciate that. It was and he kind of like taps his head. It was a simple mistake.
How long have you been late?
He turns and looks at the group. 4 months.
Yes, things often slip my mind for about
I
100
was
days as
out
well.
of the country. It was a crashed airship. I was on my way back, but well, fate
Erin,
took us in strange directions.
In the interim, he did destroy the Wand of Orcus, help solve the murder of Hannah Wasserman, and gain
I always did mean
knowledge
to
as
come
the
back,
origin
of
the Soul
course.
Blade, so.
I did, really. I promise, sir. I just got waylaid.
Yes, and that being aside, the timelines do have a small issue as well. How was Rosanna, Mr. Galpadane?
Sona?
Did you accompany them all? I believe that's where you were headed when last we spoke.
Who we headed there with at the time? Sorry.
Ghost. Everyone. That's
Yeah.
Roman and everyone's home.
We're on our way to destroy the wand.
Well, the wand was destroyed. Not everybody made it back, although that sounds perhaps arguably somewhat grimmer than it does, and in some ways aptly grim. It was a complicated time, and well, we achieved our objective.
I'm glad to hear
in
it.
some ways, it's raised more questions than it's answered.
I'm glad to hear it. How have you also been traipsing around this city in your father's shadow for the past 2 months as well?
Well, it's an awkward fact, of course, that considering my family's position on certain things, particularly those of the arcane, through necessity, I have had to make use of my arcane abilities.
You've been projecting? Relocating?
I'm afraid I can't disclose any more than that at this moment. It's a sensitive subject, you must understand.
It simply piqued my curiosity. Obviously, much of these events are going to benefit you and your family personally.
Well, I know my family is being involved in the more traditional sense with forms of philanthropy and social causes, but I hope you can see that there's something in it, something of a departure in the scale and magnitude of what we're dealing with here.
Yes, backhand or above board business dealings, or whatever you want to describe your father's empire, it doesn't quite equate to the murder of a prominent official and a plague and contact with the cult of Vecna, which really should be put down once and for all. Can't believe it hasn't been.
For the time being, correct me if I'm wrong, Ascor, but would you rather your name was left out of our recent discoveries? Is there to be a public announcement that the Nice Boys have been involved in this at all? Because I think actually perhaps for now it might be good if there was not, until we resolve certain things.
Well, like with you, I suspect myself and the council want to get everything in order, understand exactly what's happened before we release any information, especially about the return of Hannah. Sophrena may have allies or plans within the city, and we want to know who they are, how much they knew, and if they can be caught in any lies before the truth is published. I'm sure those who will need to know will unfortunately have to be informed, but I suspect the general populace can wait for a while.
I would really beg your discretion, perhaps, on the identities of some of us in the room.
Well, given your name change and approaching here in disguise, from what I've been informed, he kind of looks over at the door where the guard is. You're all, or some of you are hiding. Anything I can help with?
I mean, I explained my one.
I'm sure that will be resolved by sundown. I'm sure a well-written letter to Mr. Vimes from yourself will clear some things up, along with my pressure.
Oh, amazing.
So
I
who
don't
is hiding?
think you can help unless. Well, do you want him to? He asks to no one in particular in the room.
Mhm.
We bluff.
Look. What? Uh-oh. Here up in the overlay.
Oh.
Hello.
Um.
Help me. I'm drowning.
I
Oh.
am
I am
underwater.
underwater. Is that
I
me?
can't breathe.
Why do we literally quote the same memes all the
Because
time?
it's TikTok. We're a fucking hive mind. Like
That's fine, is I don't even have TikTok.
Is
I
anybody there? Oh.
He's
Got
back.
something to say about me?
Okay, cool. Yeah, so Percival, is there anything I can help with, or is it something you'd rather keep to yourselves again?
Is that an address to me? Is it?
Everyone about why people are hiding. You all come in disguise. I'm not really one for silences if you don't want to explain yourself. You've certainly earned that.
He turns and looks at the rest of the group. I mean,
I'll
Aguro's
let
kind
you-
of
Why
like
was such a surprise?
staring at Hayden. His arms are crossed. He's pretty. Yeah, he looks like he doesn't want to talk, but he's sort of looking questioningly at Hayden as if to say, should we? Is it a
Hayden.
good idea?
Kind of startles when he realizes Aku's looking at him, and I don't know. I don't know. We can. Oh.
This is an awkward time to announce the engagement.
Bonus action, will you marry me?
We two of us. Well. The clasp kind of want to kill some of us. Kind of did. We're trying to stay kind of low key. It's kind of a long story.
Until we exterminate the clasp, they need to stay hidden.
A pernicious and roach-like organization. I've tried on multiple occasions to rid the city of their influence.
There's a lot of them. Kind of hard.
There are a lot of rats too. If you want somewhere to hide, I am sure rooms or at least areas of. Actually, where are you staying? Do you have a place to hide? And I assume so. If you've been in the city for several days.
Yeah.
I make a magical interdimensional mansion.
Hiding is
Ah.
not the problem.
Yeah, we've changed location quite a few times.
Given that you've tried to remove the clasp from Imon, and he kind of makes air quotes as he said remove, like it's a bit of a preposterous idea. Perhaps we can find some common ground, given that this is also something that we may be interested in doing.
You know what's the issue with getting older and getting respected and getting well known?
No.
You can't just walk into a bar anymore and shoot the person that you really want to shoot. You have to go through the official channels, you have to get evidence, you have to be accountable, you have to answer so many questions, fill in so much paperwork. It doesn't even matter. Half the time, they get away anyway. That's why I failed. Because a man in my position, with my reputation, that isn't dealing with a threat like we used to, instead dealing with common criminals, can't use every tool at my disposal.
Well, we didn't have that issue.
Are you suggesting we walk into a bar and open fire?
I'm saying that were a group of your caliber and power to have an unfortunate self-defense incident, I'm sure everyone would look the other way and move along.
Great. That is exactly what we needed to hear.
Yes,
I-
absolutely, sir.
I
You help
misunderstood
me
the
out, I'll help
implication
you.
of that. Could you explain your interpretation of that to me, please?
I think he's just told us to walk into a bar, a proverbial bar, and shoot the first class member we see.
Effectively, he
reason-
wants us to assassinate people.
The reason that he's not been able to get rid of the clasp is because he's too burdened by paperwork to just go kill people because he's too famous.
Yeah.
Well, we can just go kill him.
He's like a politician. He can't just walk around murdering
Cool,
people.
that's where it was going. Cool.
Cool. So he's just told us to go shoot some class guys. Cool. Great. Good.
I mean, the implication, I guess, was probably more like, does Percy have anything to offer in terms of like information or like manpower, right? If that was something that he was interested in doing and one of his goals, and he hasn't yet done it, right? Like, I
Yeah.
feel like if, yeah, sorry.
No, absolutely. You can go. On top of that, as he kind of like looks at you, getting the implication is you kind of think, well, I'm sure, were you in your research into the plague to happen upon some security or scouting reports from within the city, maybe they go amiss. Paper's so easily burnt or lost underneath cupboards. Files go missing all the time.
You're great. I really like you. Wow.
Aqua's also looking impressed.
I just feel like I just need to come out and say that.
You probably noticed that Hayden probably doesn't look quite so happy, or is Hayden? Sorry, what is Hayden feeling right now?
I'm curious. Why do you think he doesn't look so happy?
I think Erin doesn't look necessarily so happy, as in just like I don't know if you were trying to play like concerned about people you used to work with getting murdered or killed by the group. Conflicted is how I would imagine Hayden feels.
Conflicted is a good. The one hand, pleased that we've got someone very powerful on our side who can make problems go away, but on the other hand, he's just given us full steam ahead to go deal with a particular problem that Hayden's not so certain he wants to be involved in.
So, Percival, if we were to be, I don't know, stacking our odds in just accidentally finding a missing file on the clasp in certain locations we could try to just walk into, where would we be rolling our dice, so to speak?
Well, I've employed somebody recently. They're very nice, but a little clumsy and careless, and if you were to request information and I were to send it over, I shudder to think what could get involved.
All right. All right, understood. Cool, cool. Very under the table. Great. On the
In
plague.
regards to Hannah, I understand with this spell there are a limited number of times it can be queried or used. Applications, I believe. Have you spoken to Hannah inside here?
We
Um,
asked her one question. He turns to the group. I cannot remember.
Well,
Wow.
I spoke to her when I first found her, and I asked, "Are you Hannah?" And she said,
Two.
then we asked her another one.
Asked her how she died, and I think that's it.
And she warned us that she's getting weaker.
She might have already been queried before we found her, right?
That's why we brought her here, is because we thought if we can bring her back and get her back into her body, then, well, one, she's unmurdered, but two, then you can ask her as many questions as you want, because she won't just suddenly disappear. No.
Which raises the question. Understandable if it's complicated, but what of Hannah Wasserman's body?
Once it was deemed not helpful in the investigation, she was returned to her family and, I presume, buried. We will need some time to work out what they and perhaps even she desires. But I am sure her family, and those of us who knew her, are very grateful that we at least now have some answers, and perhaps soon some justice.
Are you going to hunt her down, Sylphrena, that is?
I'm going to do nothing of the sort.
Are you
Smiles.
going to hire somebody to hunt her down?
I'm sure there are many, many people throughout the world who would be more than happy to help us return Sylphrena to where she can give some well-needed answers.
Which bounty hunter do you use?
I think you've met him.
Oh wait, who is it?
Speaks quite highly of you two, actually, and points at Hayden and Zug.
Oh,
Oh.
Rug. Can we tag along?
I'm under the impression you have some rather urgent
Oh,
threads
yes.
to untangle.
Oh yes, of course. But
Yes.
after that, maybe. Just tell him if he needs the help. I'm around.
I'm sure he'll be thrilled.
On the plague, when
Oh,
we...
this is fantastic. What a great day.
It is a good day. When we set our attentions on the plague, are we coming here to request information from you, or how do we
Yes,
find out what you've already learned?
Here or Castle Grayskull? Keep Grayskull.
Grace.
It's the large, rather gaudy keep with the skull on its outside. I did not do the design.
I don't look down on a tacky palace.
No, it's and Asco leans in.
I
sort of
will
puts his
count that
hand-
against you.
Asco leans in and puts hands on Percy's and just goes, "I think it's a fine place." Leans back.
He looks at you, eyes it up. I'm certain that your father is looking to rebuild it soon.
Well, if it's got stone in the name, we've got stone in the game.
Is that your
One of your-
catchphrase? It's not, is it?
One of the earlier slogans, I agree. Very well. I and the council will be very grateful that you have brought this information to us and and Hannah's soul. Whilst we regroup and discuss and exactly what that means, circle back. Don't say these words.
We can touch
would
base
be
to
wonderful.
synergize once again. On
Can't wait to
the-
realign with you, Percival.
If we were more aware
Align
and
with some senior
aligned and kept in
stakeholders.
the loop of your future activities.
If you could just share your calendar with us, we can. Yeah.
I don't know
No.
how you've managed to go under the radar for quite so long across much of this continent.
We try and keep a
Clearly,
low
you're
profile.
all powerful individuals,
Pretty sweet, yeah.
and regardless of intentions, regardless individuals draw our attention.
I hope it's favourable.
Certainly is now.
Yeah, I can see why a group like us traipsing around with a wand of Orcus might not have been favourable in the past.
No, but its destruction tells me two things: that you were able to destroy it, and more importantly, that you were willing.
You're a good guy, Percival de Rolo.
I'd
Counselor.
hate to think so.
Counselor. Now, we know things are complicated for a person in your position, in any of the positions on the council. We know also that word travels, even in the highest echelons. It's just a suggestion, but maybe it's going to be easier for us to complete our operations and work mutually if perhaps you don't fully disclose our participation to the rest of the council. And like you say, the clasp, been trying to eradicate them for a long time, and I do not mean to throw accusations around about the esteemed nature of the council by any means, but as I said before, word does travel.
Your involvement at all, or just certain individuals?
Well, I think all of us. I think it would put all of us at risk in some way. And if one of us at risk, then it might as well be all of us. We are committed to doing what's right.
For now, I think it would be best, so long as we still get access to your information to do with the plague, whatever resources you have at your disposal, then we don't need to be on the list, as it were.
I can ensure this is on a need-to-know basis. However, I do not keep secrets from the Vesta Vox Machina. The other members of the council, the need-to-know shall stand.
Well, I assume in that case, the feeling is mutual between you and your party.
Of course.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Okay, well, we have some rats to... What's the phrase?
Cook.
Cook.
No,
Rats
that's not
to
the phrase.
cook.
That's
Poison.
not the phrase.
We didn't really have rats back in,
We didn't have
where I'm
rats.
from.
At
No,
that
not
point, I think
really.
Ascor just stands up while they're like mumbling on. Ascor just stands up and he sort of like, sort of picks his jacket and puts his hand out and goes, Council de Rolo, it's going to be a pleasure working with you. He puts his hand out to shake.
Slightly stunned, Percy puts his hand out and like you grab it and give him a good old public voice shake, and it's like he gets it towards the end. It's just his initial confusion is like, a pleasure, I'm sure. As the rest of you kind of fall out to leave, does that as he kind of says his goodbyes, is there anything else anybody wants to say, or will you all leave to go outside and talk about it?
Yeah, don't really have a reason to stick around, I think.
No, I think
Level
we're good.
16, guys. Level 16. Here it is.
There we go. Nice. We've done it. We've
Alright.
done a conversation.
Great. As you leave, you walk out the door. That is where we will leave today's session. With a lot of roleplay done in person. Some revelations about Aku and his current situation. What is exactly going on inside Aku's head is much a topic of discussion, as well as Barnes' connections and loyalties. And then, of course, you're meeting with an authority figure. An authority figure that was probably well chosen, because an authority figure who can respect the need to act. Not necessarily always... an authority figure whose ends certainly justify the means. I think is the way of describing Percy very well. And Sulfrena running, because the theft of such an important item was never going to go unnoticed, but seemingly unable to find you and therefore not coming for you directly, and as well as carte blanche to investigate the plague, the clasp, and some more, and when and if you choose to reveal yourselves, allies in high places.
How are we going to frame Sulfrena for murdering Heinrich von Galverdane now? She's left the city.
We're gonna have to find someone new.
You chose to steal the thing.
We'll have to frame somebody else for killing her dead.
We're gonna have to be.
No, she might come back and, she'll come back and do the thing.
True.
Okay. That's where we'll leave it. Not such a cliffhanger this week.
We framed the clasp.
We completed some missions. We finally completed a quest or two.
Yes, I feel much of this is just talking that maybe should have happened a while ago. But alas. And we will leave this session. And thank you all for watching. And hopefully we'll see you next week. And maybe we'll have a chance to use a birthday natural 20.
Yeah. I can't believe Kari killed Heinrich von Galverdane.
Oh my god.
I can't
Shocking.
believe she did that. Wow.
Yeah.
How could you
Who
do
would've
this?
thought it?
Thank you everybody for watching. If anyone here is new, you're more than welcome to come join our Discord server. It's full of friendly D&D players, video game fans, general creative people. It's a really, really nice little community. So feel free to pop in, check it out, see if it's up your alley if you like it. If you don't, you can leave, no problem. It's no biggie.
You can never leave.
But yeah, you're welcome to come check that out, and we hope that we will see you next week. If you'd like to follow us on socials, we are most active on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram. You can check this all out, all at D&D Boyband, spelled the same as our Twitch channel name. Now we are going to raid Kaz the DM, who is a very active member of our Discord community, actually. So
Our good friend Kaz.
finally we actually get to raid him because he's actually streaming at the time that we're finishing a stream for once. So please hop on the raid. Please be super nice. He's a really cool guy.
Also, you should come to our Discord because then you can see the beautiful art that these guys commissioned me for my birthday, and also that Jen drew. It's very beautiful.
There's a lot of nice artwork in the Discord, so
Yes.
good place to hang out. But yeah, hopefully we'll see you all next week. Take care, guys. Bye.
Bye.